Alright, how we're gonna do this? Okay, so quick disclaimer on this video, two things. So yeah, apparently live stream doesn't exactly work too well over here with this kind of Wi-Fi connection I have here in Japan. And the second thing is, why do you look so tired? And well, if you ever worked in Japan, and maybe you know this already, but we work about 16 hours a day working for another company, and that's why I'm in Japan here. So my morning schedule is to get up at 6 a.m. and then I'm home around 10 p.m. So it's a little bit of work. And then the disclaimer part is about doping and doping. So I don't personally believe everybody dopes. It's just that when I lived with a couple guys and they were taking stuff, that kind of got me a little bit turned up a bit. So now I don't believe everybody dopes. I don't think Meb dopes, and you could be really good and not dope. And I'm not saying I'm just an average guy, right? So my times on the track were pretty average, and I can understand there's going to be a lot of people that are better than me. And going to people who unfortunately do take stuff and do take drugs, it's unfortunate, but a lot of these guys, they have to, or some of them, they feel like they have to because it's their job and they're trying to make money. At this time, this was my job and I was trying to make money, but I didn't take anything. And if you're just an average guy, you're gonna run pretty much average times 13 something for 5K or so. You're not gonna run any. You may not run as much faster, but if you do have the talent, and some athletes, they really do have the talent, they probably don't have to run as many miles as I did. They don't have to do as much work, and they could just still be a little bit faster. And that's just the way the sport is. So I feel like some things maybe I said before, it kind of demoralized some people on there on YouTube, and I don't want that to deter you from doing what you like doing, because the whole purpose of running is just running, right? So, but it's just the unfortunate circumstances. Now I don't want to say who these guys were, what country they're from, or but when I was back in New York, and you live with these guys, and then they do it in front of you, and they kind of say to you, well, if you really want to be good, this is what you have to do. And it's just like, I quit. That was kind of the reason. I don't think I really brought that up on my YouTube channel as much, the whole thing, but like, it's just a thing, and I kind of don't want to care about it. I moved to Japan now, and I'm doing fine here. I like it here a lot better. As from the 16-hour work days, it's a lot, but I don't want to end up living in my car again. So it's fine. And Japanese people, they could do it. Like, this is probably the most awesome thing about them, is that they're super strong and willing to do this. Now, some part it is a bit of a problem, but Japanese people have that kind of endurance to do 16, 20. I know somebody who does 20-hour work days. She does it in the office over here, and I'm just like, it's a lot. And I get home, it's 9, 10 o'clock, I go for a little run, I do whatever, and then I have my little stock trading business, and the NYSE opens at 10:30 p.m. Japan time, so then I could be up to like 2 a.m. in the morning trading, and then having to get up at 6 a.m. To go back to work. So I generally don't want to trade stocks every day. It's a lot of work, but I do it. And for the time being, it's fine over here because there's no corona over here or whatever, and people are happy at work. We all have to wear masks and everything, and then it's good. Life is fine, and then that's what you take. As for the running part, I did a little bit. I'm not competing. We can't compete now. There's no races going on right now. and everything is kind of done. And when I get back into it, I just want to do ultras because there's no money in ultras. There's no big sponsors in ultras for the most part, and therefore it's less likely people want to take stuff to go try to win money. So it's just more about the raw dog of the sport, and that's what I really like about it. So I'll try to go for like an ultra distance record, run 300 miles without stopping. By the way, I'm drinking matcha green tea over here and ginger. It's pretty good. Some stuff in Japan is really, really good. And let's see, is that video uploaded yet? There we go. So this video is going to go for a while today, and if it was a live stream, I'd live stream all day, but I'm just going to upload a long ass video. I don't know how long I'm going to talk for. Alright, let's go. And may have to put these videos together. So now let's start with the whole life story. So I'll leave in the description below each time frame of each part of the video, so I could just upload 1 2-hour, 3-hour, 5-hour video or whatever, and then just you could click on the time of what part of the video you want to get to. So starting at 6:30, let's start my whole entire life story from when I was a kid. Right? By the way, I got these rubber chickens for to bring them to my desk. They're like $2 each. To bring them to the. So it was back in the 1990s, and we came to New York City. So I was a young kid. I don't remember much, but I was a kid, and I went to elementary school in New York, and I was there for a little while. And so as a kid, we had a lot of crazy things happen. I went to elementary school, and there I learned to play piano and many things. Piano, art. As for sports, I never was like a sport person, but I used to just travel to school on foot, and mostly it was just by running to school because I just didn't have a bike or anything. And my family, we're kind of like a lower middle class family, or middle class family, but whatever middle class is, I say it's good enough because we had a house to live in, or place to live in, and you know, I don't know how much my family ever earned at the time, but I would say it was at least probably $20,000 a year, so that's pretty good, especially in the 1990s, if I had to guess. And let's not get too much off track. So I went to school, as usual, and when I was 9 years old, I had the opportunity to work with my grandfather, and he was a carpenter, and he's in Sicily, right? But he would come to New York, and he taught me the trade of painting, and he taught me how to fix things and how to do some things, and it was good. So I learned it's an art skill. Painting houses, doing carpentry, it's an art skill, and it's actually something not everybody has. And a lot of people take it for granted. Oh, you call a plumber over to your house, you got to fix your house. And you got to understand he's got a skill that you probably don't have, and the price that he's going to charge you, it's going to be a fair amount, but you got to understand he's got to pay bills too. He's got to pay taxes. Anyway, so I learned a lot of little trades and things when I was young. I learned how to farm and grow food, tend a garden, tend a farm in Sicily, and just general what Italians do, Sicilians do. And so after elementary school, I went to middle school. This is in Valley Stream. So Valley Stream is like Queens, Long Island. Let me go back to elementary school. I remember we were, it was 2001, September 11, 2001, and recently my aunt, who came over from Sicily, died in the World Trade Center, and the 9/11 attacks, and that was, almost 20 years ago. I mean, she's, I'll forget about it. And it sucks because you just come over from another country, you get a job in New York City, and oh, it's New York, wow, and then you get blown up. Fucking sucks, but that's what part of my family had to go through, and a lot of people in New York had to go through. So, and then you move on for that. I mean, she's not here anymore. She's up there. God bless. So after elementary school, I moved to. Let me close the door. The stupid sink is leaking again. So I moved. So I went to middle school. I met some friends. I've always been a quiet person though. I made like one or two friends. My best friend from elementary school is still my best friend right now. We always talk. His name is Thomas. Great guy. Awesome dude. So many years we known. Remember the times as kids used to hang out in the basement and play Nintendo. And middle school and high school was weird. That's when a lot of the everyone was all like becoming emo and goth, and we used to listen to like a lot of punk rock, grunge, underground stuff. So middle high school, so it was definitely that emo kind of year, and I never was. I mean, my parents never allowed me to actually wear pierced jewelry, but I had like crazy hair, and we did some stuff, and probably did some shit we shouldn't have done. And yeah, that was My Chemical Romance years, and the thing with My Chemical Romance, Gerard Way. So he's from New Jersey, right outside of New York, and his moment of starting that band was because of what happened on September 11, 2001. His first song that came out was Skylines and Turnstiles. If anyone you know that song, it's quite amazing. I love that song. And that's what sparked My Chemical Romance. So it just had that feeling to a lot of us, growing up in New York, that feel. And when you're a kid in school and high school, life just kind of sucks. You can't do anything. You're just controlled by the freaking man. And then you. But anyway, in high school, it was my second year of high school, and I used to run to school every day because I had to. And running, I just did it because it was fun. I had a bike for like a year or two. Middle school, I had a bike, and then that got stolen. And then, I was shit out of luck. And as for work, the only work I really got paid for is like helping Nono out, Grandpa, doing some yard work and chores and painting houses and learning to do stuff like that. So I didn't really have any money as a kid, and neither, my family they were just pretty average. So I would go. I saved up what was $120 bike or something, and it was just like, months of, putting aside $10 or whatever. I made like $3 or $4 an hour, basically learning how to do construction work at a young age. And well, my bike got stolen one day. They cut the chain at my high school, and this time we were in Wantagh, which is Long Island, South Shore, Long Island. And so I didn't have my bike, and so I went back to running to school again every day, and it was good. And one day I met my high school track coach because he saw me running to school. Somebody did, and then they recommended me coming on to the cross country team. And I said, "What's cross country? I don't know what cross. I don't know what is that. Is it a sport or something? It's cross country. It's just you run trails. It's a trail running sport." And so running to school every day, and remember we did have bus service, but not always, or I didn't take it often. No, I never took the bus. I rarely took. It was parts of middle school I used to take the bus. So I remember. But yeah. So all of a sudden I was on the high school track team, and it was great. But I just remember going right into school, and the hardest thing was buying shoes because I had no money, or it was hard, and I'd always try to get my parents or whatever to help me out a little bit here and there, and whatever money I made, I bought things and stuff like that. But I just remember being really hungry all the time, and this was never new throughout my whole entire life, but every once in a while I would go to the back of the grocery store, and at the grocery store they throw out a lot of food, and a lot of it's still good, so I'd go in the dumpster and I would just get food out of the dumpster and just bring that home every once in a while, just because I didn't really have much money. And so, I just did that. I used to collect bottles. I used to be the bottle king. I used to ride around everywhere on my bicycle in like middle school, and then I didn't have my bike, and then later in high school I got a bike again, and I would just ride around on my bicycle in high school. And yeah, so the video paused again right there. And I would go around and I would collect bottles. And I would collect, I would make, $10 a day, $5. Like on recycling night, there would be so many bottles to pick up. It was great. And so I'd go around with like a pole and on my bicycle, and I'd just collect bottles and quarters. And then I would use that money to buy food or whatever or not, but whenever I got the chance. Now in high school I had a lot of homework to do, so it was just hard to do things. But I must have saved up quite a few $1,000s over the years, collecting bottles. And from a very young age, I learned how to make money in the dumbest ways, all the way up until later in my life, and I'll get to that in a bit, when I was living in the subway, basically, and that was my job for the last few years ago. But I always found clever ways to make money, and it was good, so it was fun, I guess. Call running around picking up bottles in the rain fun. But it was very hard to get a job. I remember in 2008 the United States was going through a recession and nobody was ever giving you a job, and when you're young it's harder to get work because they're gonna hire somebody who's a little bit older. Yeah, I get it. It always seemed that way, even until now, that like all the 50-year-old employees who've been working on the company for 20, 30, 40, 50 years have the job, and the younger generation doesn't have all the jobs. But anyway, so going back to running, so I ran to school, I joined the track team, and I remember that first year I ran, my first 5K was like 21 minutes, and then in the same season at the end I ran like it was 17:40 on cross country course. And I remember the workouts that we used to do, and they were hard. They were tough. They were tough workouts, and we used to just run hard all the time with the team, and it was fun. It was the first time I kind of felt like I bonded with people and actually made friends, lifelong friends really, and that are basically still my friends today. I never see them anymore. I barely see them. You can only talk on Facebook. I don't see any of my friends. It's been a while, but lifelong friendships made from running. Second, and that year in track, I just remember it was sophomore year. Like, see, I was like a 10-minute 2-miler. And then the year after that, junior year, I ran like a 16:40 or 16:30. And senior year was like a 16:10. Those are my cross country times. But I remember sophomore year I ran a 9:52 mile. It was the greatest thing in high school. And that's pretty average high school time. It's like not that great at all. Anybody could do that. So I was just generally an average guy. And I've always been pretty average, even all the way up until running on a professional level. I've just been for the professional I was slow. I wasn't even average, but for just a regular athlete I've always been average. But you take the initiative to grind yourself a little harder, and you could do a little bit better than most of the field. That's the whole point of um, working incredibly hard and doing the things that the 99% of people don't want to do, just to really get you to that next level. But I remember we made state championships twice as a team, and we were like third or second in the state. And I remember in high school we had the state championships. Senior year was Sunken Meadow State Park in Long Island, and we were going up against Burnt Hills, and I think we ended up coming in third though as a team. But I remember trying to run in high school under 17 minutes on that course was super hard. But going through college, to run around 15 minutes wasn't too hard on a 5K course. This is 5K. As you got better and you got older. My best time in the 2 mile my senior year of high school, I ran a 9:14, and I just missed a 50-year-old high school record by 4 seconds. Damn. What are you gonna do? And I never had. My fastest mile was 4:24 in high school. Oh, 4:26 or 4:27. I remember the first time breaking 4:30 for the mile is ridiculous. And looking back all the way to that, it's like I'd run those splits in a 10K. Up until like last year, until I basically stopped running or quit running. But just that progression from where I've gotten to really just being average and kind of sucking at running, to running 20 miles, 25, 20, 28 miles a day at most, to coming to where I was, it was really pleasing to me, and I was like, wow, I just have to be stronger. And I'm putting all my time and effort into just running because I'm like, this is what I want to do. I want to be a professional runner when I grow up, when I get older. And that was high school, and man, I just remember the old times in high school. Just the way of life. I mean, it was 2000s punk scene, emo, and I was just, my friends, a lot of my friends, and people I hung in high school. I remember there was always the pot kids. They were always smoking pot under the bridge. And on their lunch break, because they were allowed to go out, seniors were allowed to go out on their lunch break, and of course I was just getting loaded on their lunch break. And welcome to my town. You're just that lower middle class or middle class kid in high school, and just what everybody did. Well, not everybody, but just the bad kids, just all misbehaving. And some of them, they're still potheads all the way to this day. What's gonna change? You're either eating out of a dumpster, or you're smoking pot and collecting bottles off the street. Welcome to South Shore, Long Island. If anyone of you out there from my town, you remember. But you grow up, and then you realize maybe there's something a little better I can do in life. Maybe there's something else. Let's try running marathons. That's a great idea. It actually was a good idea. Yeah. So I joined the track team, and I did something great. Not just for myself, but for other people, because I wanted to show other people what I can do and what you can do too, inspire people. So I went from one thing, and then I went to college. I hated college. Oh my God. It was 2010, and I spent 5 years in college because I transferred in 1 year of... Now, after high school, I went to college, and I hated college. And, I went to Malloy College my freshman year, and then I just hated college. What I hated college was I hated everyone else. Okay, I had a couple of good friends, Love my friends. Everyone else, I don't like so much. Everybody liked to drink. I don't like to drink. Everybody like to do drugs. I like to do drugs. College is a place where you go to kind of screw around and delay your adult life. It was a waste of time. Why? Nobody's thinking. At this point in my life, I was getting a little smarter. I was reading about philosophy. I was spending time alone in the library. I spent a lot of time alone in the library and reading books and educating myself on things. And I just couldn't get why college kids, they think they're so great. They're always drinking. I always drinking. You're gonna screw yourself up. You're not just you're gonna screw yourself up now. You're gonna screw yourself up from the future because you're gonna be working a shit job that you don't like, working for someone you don't like, being in some place you don't like because you can't think for yourself because you screwed up for your brain because you always were drinking so much. Forget about it. And now I'm not saying that my whole life was pretty financially, and I'll get to that in a bit. And it wasn't. It never was. My whole life, all the way up until literally right now. But I didn't get along with a lot of people, and I was nice. It was cool. I secretly just didn't like a lot of people, and I did my own thing. I worked on my artwork. I always would play the piano. I would practice piano 10 hours a day. I would work on my skills 10 hours a day. I would paint pictures 10 hours a day. And I would run 10 hours a day. Okay, I didn't run 10 hours a day. And I would run. I'd wake up at 6 in the morning. I'd go running. I'd go to class. I'd go running again. And then I'd go play the piano all night. I never did homework. Okay, I did my homework, but I never studied. I never feel like I had to study. College wasn't that hard, especially for what I was going for. I was going for music. But I noticed later on in life, like, my brain worked a little different than everyone else was. Like, if I just paid attention in class, I didn't have to do any studying or reading. And if they gave you a textbook, I'd read the whole textbook in about a day or two and remember every chapter in the textbook. And so I would get ahead, or I would read ahead in the class and know what was coming. So if I had a chance on my free time, I was good, and I'd always get like B's in school, and I never studied. I never feel like I had to study. What you guys gotta learn to do, what you kids gotta learn to do is, if you pay attention in class, and you don't even gotta take notes. Maybe write down what he's copying, just so you feel it. Sometimes when you feel the information in your wrist, it renders to your brain a little bit better. And you understand what he's saying. Ask a few questions. You don't gotta spend all night studying. What's the matter with you? You got the information right there. And then, I'd come to the test. I'd get a B, a few things wrong, I missed a few things. Always putting trick questions. I don't understand. Maybe English is my second language. It shouldn't be. I grew up in New York, right? It was alright. And music was fun. I didn't learn anything in college. You go to college just to get a piece of paper that says you're somebody, and then you go end up living in your car because it's not like you could get any real job unless you really majored in something worthwhile, like finance. Right? But heck, why the heck people going to school for finance for? You learn to trade stocks at home. You do your homework. You sit in the library. I took a year out of my time when I was in New Mexico, and I just read books about stock trading. And I was like, this is fun shit. It's not an easy thing to do, but like, I kind of like it. You could do it on your own, And if you want to take courses or join a class, you don't go to college for stock trading. You take courses through other firms or stock trading firms that offer these courses to potential clients, and you join their program and they accept you in, let's get away from that. We're going back to college. And I remember in college, I had a car to drive, and at that point, so I was moving up. I was working for a gym. I was a floor mopper from 2009. I was a floor mopper all the way to like now. And even when I left New York in 2018, I was still mopping floors, and I love that job. Like, nobody can mop the floors better than I can, and that's the way I felt about it. Nobody can mop the floor. Like, I work from 6 p.m. to 12. And I would get up at 6 a.m. in the morning to drive to go to school, and or I would run, get to school really early and run because class started, and then so I have to start running before 7 o'clock or whatever practice was. But I kept back, and the guy I worked with, his name was Moses, and he's in a lot of my videos. If you look back, he's just a small indie guy. He's the best freaking guy in the world, and he's the example of what hard work coming to America is all about. He came from Guyana, so it's like he's like an Indian guy from South America, and you know, he came here, started business doing construction work, blah 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 blah. So I learned a lot from him, and he knew what he was doing, and he was just so funny. When we'd fuck around every night, but I was the floor mopping kid for so many years, and everybody knew me as the floor mopping kid who could run a lot of fucking miles, because everybody saw me running every morning and every afternoon, twice a day. That's that running kid, and that guy he runs the 13-minute 5K. Although I wasn't that fast in college, but like. I was like, dude, it's like, why isn't he a personal trainer at the gym here? I mop floors for a gym. I worked at a gym. And the reason why I mopped floors at the gym, because I had a free gym to work out. And, you know, after work or right before work, I had a shower. It was good. Just to have a shower, you know, a warm shower every night, was great. And just that convenience. So, it was a great job, and you know, I love the people who work there, and just the regular average Joe people just doing their job, and you know, my other coworkers, great people, and I love them all for that. And wow, and you know, that's the job you do. You learn to work, and you enjoy what you do. And I always enjoyed mopping those floors. I always had to get them clean. I mop them dry, scrub the toilets. I love scrubbing toilets. I just put the bleach in there, you scrub them, and you know, it's great. It was good money. I remember it was like $7.50 an hour, and then up until like it was like 2014, we got moved up to like $9.50 an hour, and I felt pretty wealthy, and I was good. I mean, $9.50 an hour, that's great. So when I was a kid, I didn't do work in Sicily. You make about $3 an hour, $4 an hour, but man, $30-$40 a night. I mean, if I wanted to, I mean, I could afford rent and have like 4 roommates in New York, and I'd be okay. But you know, I had to save that money, and you know, I could buy food, everything I needed, food, the car insurance, the car I saved up for. I financed the car. It was a cheap car, but cheap and used it was, and you finance it, and you know, my monthly payment was like $150 for the next 5 years, plus $90 for insurance, and this, you know, I was good. I lived in a basement, relatives a basement, and this goes back to we'd live. All the way to middle school. We were living me and my family, my parents. We were living in my grandparents' basement at the time, because we were like moving around a lot, and you know, for always remember, I always really lived in a basement, in Valley Stream, New York. So, but yeah, we had I remember 2 years. Was five of us, and we were put all the beds together in the basement with my brother and my sister, and yeah, good times, right? I should have said that in the beginning of the story, so maybe you guys are getting lost here. But life was good. And then anyhow, about living life, mopping floors, and that's what I did. And I was in college, and it was about. I remember in Sicily. Now I had to go back to Sicily a lot in the summers, and one year I was in Sicily for a while, and I just do farm work. I would dig the holes. I'd run 20 miles in the morning to the top of a mountain, or try to get a marathon in, or 14 in the morning, 6 at night. It was 20 miles a day, and I'd run to the top of a mountain in Castellamare di Golfo, Sicily. You could look it up. It's a pretty big mountain, and I'd get out in the morning 6 a.m. because it'd be 90 degrees already and 110 degrees in the afternoon. But by the time I get back, and it could be 120 degrees, so I'd always have to run early. And I'd run in the morning, then I get back, and then I would water the plants, and I would sleep on the floor in the shed by the where we put the car, and I had my chickens there. And the chickens used to eat fresh eggs, and when I was younger, we used to eat just the fresh eggs from the chicken. And this before I was a vegan and all whatever, and it was real, not the crap you get in the grocery store in America. And the whole point of going vegetarian or vegan was, it was just because the way we do things wasn't working. I figure it wasn't working. You don't do that if it's not working. But farm life is just different. We have free range chickens. They run around and they poop the eggs out in the dirt. And you just find them. It's like going Easter egg hunting. It's Easter every fucking morning. They don't care. Someone who's raised chickens, they don't care. But it's really not good to eat eggs every day. Everyone knows that the cholesterol is not good. But farm life in Sicily, I loved that life. When I'd go back and help grandma and grandpa out, in Sicily, and I'd get my running in, I'd get my work in, and the most rewarding thing was going to work for basically free, but getting rewarded with fresh food. And going back to what I told you before, food was hard to come by. When you're in New York and you don't have much money, food is hard to come by, because you'd spend half of all your paycheck or whatever you're making on food. Man, I was spending like $50 a week when I was a kid on food, and I'd make $150 a week or whatever, $200. I was making $500 a month, $400-500 a month. And that's pretty average income for the majority of us. If you're wealthy and making $1,000 a month, well, good for you. Most of us kids in Long Island, we weren't doing that. We could put 4 of us together and rent a $2,000 apartment if you wanted to, or live in a basement, blah blah blah. Anyway, forget about it. But that reward of living on a farm and taking care of the trees, and if I would work for other people in Sicily and do their yard work, for the area that you live in, you make about $2-3 an hour, and you do 10 hours of work on the farm, you make $30. And in Sicily, $30 it lasts you all day. Rent was $120 a month at the time, so you do work 10 times a month. That's all you got to do. You make $300. Sicily is like. Italy is a first world country like America, but Sicily is kind of more like second or third world if you want to put that in economic standards. But man, I make $20 a day in Sicily. I was living good. I could do anything I want. Because I didn't have to feed myself, and because our family in Sicily, when you own property, you don't pay property tax. You actually don't even use any money. If you have a car, the money goes to just driving the car, and could be pretty cheap. It's not as much. I didn't drive in Sicily. I never drove in Sicily. I always hitchhiked. And now we come to the hitchhiking stories. So I was a kid, and a lot of times I'd get to around. This is in Sicily, and I would like to travel around, backpack, and I would live, with the backpack, and I would hitchhike. And now after I graduated high school, I went on a little trip. I decided to walk across Italy. I wasn't really walking for the most part. I did a lot of walking, Charlie, but I also did a lot of hitchhiking. So if I had to walk 10 miles, I had to walk 10 miles. If I could hitch 50 miles, it'd be good. And every once in a while, I got on a train. And there's many ways to get on a train. Just forget about it. But you can do a lot in Sicily. And I just remember just living on the road, living on the street in that summer. And I would go around. Now, I think it was towards after college. This was 2015 or so is when I went on a big hitchhiking trip. And let's go to the hitchhiking stories. And should I go to hitchhiking stories, or should I just finish the running in college? Let's go to hitchhiking stories, boofa. And then I'll go back to running. Hitchhiking, it's fun. It's not the safest thing. But sometimes that's just what you do. If you don't have money to pay for transportation, you just hitchhike. And so one day I left home, and I went out towards the beach or whatever, and I just kind of stuck on my thumb, and because I wanted to go north, I wanted to go around Italy. And I have this video in my YouTube channel called Hitchhiking Trip Gone Wrong or something like that from 5 years ago. And one day I hitchhiked to Italy, went around Italy. It was a while. And the greatest thing about hitchhiking is just the people you meet, all kinds of people, local farmers that let you camp out on their land, or they invite you into their house, and super nice people. Sicilians are great people. As for food, in Sicily, food grows on the side of the road. It's fruit. Fruit grows everywhere. And so I'd get to one place and find something to eat, something to pick off in the mountains or whatever. And I remember every day I would always have to find a place to sleep. And either it was on the beach, and I didn't even have a tent. I just had like a plastic bag or a tarp. I'd sleep on that. And every night, some places in Sicily are pretty sketchy, like big cities like Palermo and Catania and whatnot. And if I was on the street at night, and the prostitutes are out and everything, if I was out on the street, I just really couldn't go sleep there. I'd have to find some place to hide, or there is like some sort of abandoned construction building or whatever, or just walk around all night to get out of the city and find a mountain or the beach. And in my one city, I stayed on the beach. It was a lot better, and not too far they had a nightclub going on, so there were a lot of people out. And in Sicily, people are out all night in the summertime, so I wasn't completely alone in some sketchy place. It was just on a regular beach, so I just slept there, and a lot of other people were just hanging out on the beach, and just some bum ass kids sleeping there. No one would care. Usually when you look like a bum and you're homeless like a bum, people just generally don't care, and they just walk past you. That's what I've always noticed for most of my life. People don't care. So as for getting like robbed and stuff, you just gotta hold your stuff close to you, so if someone tries to steal you, they'll have to basically wake you up before, right? But then again, you don't carry too much, and I learned that the hard way. I had carrying too much cash on myself, and one day when I was in Catania back in 2015, some guy just was talking to me, some Sicilian guy. He was kind of an ugly looking figure, but I didn't think much about it, but he followed me around, and I kind of felt like something was up. I'm like, okay, when you get fouled by a crook, you know, as quick as it happens, we're down by the beach, and he takes my bag and he runs into the woods past the parking lot, and I'm like, you know, I go after him because I could catch him, and obviously I catch up to him, and the guy pulls out a knife on me. I'm like, fuck, and shit. He got my wallet and my cash, and I was just like, I had like 200 bucks in it, 200 euros. That's a lot of fucking money. And so he gave me the option. He was like, you know, he was talking to me in Sicilian, you know, about the soldi he had, and he's like, well, do you want to fight me for it, or you want to go? And I was just like, okay, maybe I'll fight you. So I pull out my knife, which wasn't a knife, it was a sword. It was about this tall. And he just looks at me. He was like, oh shit. And I like, and then he kind of comes after me, and I just like freak out, and I just take my sword and I swipe him over, and I knock him down, and I kick him, and I just beat him in the face, and then I just like run away. and I was like, I said to him, I was like, I don't want to fight you. He was like, I don't want to fight you either. I was like, fuck, okay, fuck this. I run away, and he runs away, and that was just that, and I was just like, what the hell am I doing? I run into a store by the beach, and the guy was long gone. He got my bag with my camera. I just bought a GoPro camera to film my shit, and he gets that and my wallet and whatever. At that point I realized, what the fuck am I doing? I went to a restaurant. I'm like, call the cops, some guy tried to rob me, and I'm there with a bloody dagger or a knife, my own knife, that I got rid of basically, you know, right soon right after. I was like, shit, I probably shouldn't even have this around, but I've always had it because guns aren't allowed in Sicily. Knives are, but they always have to be a legal length, and my length was not legal, obviously, but I had it just in case something like this happened, to protect myself. And yeah, when you're a dumbass kid running around like a hooligan, yeah, you don't make the best choices, and you know, you learn as experience. So I tell the lady, and she's like freaking out. I was like, what happened? I'm like, yeah, some guy tried to rob me. And you know, I sit there and I talk to the cops, and I say, we fill out a report. And I remember some people in the place just gave me like 20-30 euro. Not nice. I was gonna go stay in a little hotel hostel. It was like $12 a night, and you know, I probably should have done that when I was in Catania. I was like, I guess don't sleep on the street in Catania. Hostels are cheap enough, and even though I only had like $1,000 or $2,000 in a bank account, like, I mean, just should have done that. We fill out a police report, and I remember sitting in the police station. Talking to another guy. I was talking to another guy, and I was like, so what are you in for, bud? I was like, ¿Qué problema, señor, huh? He looks at me, he's like, some guy just robbed my car. Robbed your car, he broke into your car. No, somebody stole my car. Oh. And I realized right there in life, it always could suck more. You know? Hey, I got my wallet stolen. I didn't get killed. I could have gotten killed. It could always suck more. This guy got his car stolen. I don't know if he left the key somewhere or whatever. I think he left like the key like on a table or something when he was at a place to get food. Or like an outdoor cafe, and somebody must have just like got his key and drove off with his car. It happens. Welcome to Sicily. It could always suck more. And I'm like, dude, that sucks. Anyway, so I filled out the report with the police. I still got the report. It's like a souvenir. And the police was like, okay, where are you staying tonight? I don't know. I've been on the street for months. I didn't want to say that. I said my family's back in Castellamare. They're 200 miles away on the other side of the island. And he said, I could call this little hotel hostel. You call the Aurora Hostel in Catania, Sicily. And cheap little place. I gotta tell you, Catania, it looks a lot like Manila, since I was in Manila 2 months ago. Like, the Philippines is like home to me compared to Sicily. Get that to another story. I'm in the Catania, Sicily, and they sent me in this hotel, but they offered me to drive, and I end up there, and you meet so many awesome people, and the cops there are pretty cool, helpful. And I get there, and the guy at the hotel lets me stay like 2 nights for free. And this is in a video from 2015. You could find this video, and maybe I'll put in the link or whatever at the end of this video, the subcaptions or whatever, and you could go see that story. And then I meet this guy. His name is Nick Ostis, and you can see Nick Ostis in another video from last year. He became one of my best friends, one of my greatest friends, and is one of the reasons why I'm in Japan right now, and a lot of reasons why from some of my travels, because of all the connections this guy had. This guy, he's about in his 50s now. He's been a professional hitchhiker for, I don't know, one of those years. He's just one of those guys who's just always traveled for a living, worked odd jobs, and for money he always hustled. He was a hustler. He'd read poems. That was his thing. He'd read poems to guys that would in the street or whatever, and just put out a hat, $2, $1, and if you hustle for 100 people, 200 people, and you make $100 a day, that's pretty good. Got him to what he was going. Did what he did, and great guy. And so because I got robbed, it was just this weird sense of karma. That I met this other guy. Like, God has a place for you, and God makes things happen for other reasons. And just because of that, meeting this guy, because I got robbed, and I had to go to police office station, Carabinieri, whatever, La Polizia, to fill out the whatever. And they sent me to this hotel, and they let me stay 2 nights for free. And I met this guy, and it's like, it all happened for a reason. And great guy, freaking awesome. We parted ways in Catania. I got on a train and went somewhere else, towards back to Cosima. I realized, I think my hitchhiking days are over. I went back home. And, well, at least for now. At least for now. And you could see the guy in some of my videos. But I remember that night I met this girl. And going past that, I get back home, and now I'm talking to this girl online. And this girl is from China. And she is from Inner Mongolia, China. And long story short, so I meet this girl. And she's from China. So one thing led to another, which led to another, and now I'm talking to this girl, and she's freaking awesome. And I end up, talking to this girl from China, and I end up, in 2016, I end up having this girlfriend from China in 2016. Now let's backtrack back to college before I go to China. We're going to go back to college now. It's the year 2014. It is one of the best years at a Delphi University I ever had. We're going to go back to running now. Bada bing, bada boom. Alright, and I go back to running. and I go back. So I'm back in Adelphi University. So I transferred now from Malloy to Adelphi University. 2013 it was a year, and I met my coach, Coach Katie DePriez, and wow. So that hitchhiking trip I told you about, that was 2015. We're going back a few more years. 2013 the year is I transferred to Adelphi University, and I fucking hate college. I hate everything about it. I know it's a scam, but they're making me go. My parents were like, oh, you gotta go to college. I said, why I gotta go to college? Because you gotta go. I have to go to college. I said, okay, I'll go to college. And the reason is because I got a scholarship for college. Because everyone knows damn right I ain't gonna afford college in the first place. Because I got an athletic scholarship and I got a scholarship for playing the piano for music. Got it from was free. Okay, I go to college. I'm not gonna like it, but heck, I'll go to college. I went to college, and in college, you go to school, and in school, you go to class, and in class, you meet a bunch of people that you don't fucking like. But it ain't all bad. College ain't all bad. You know, college is a place you get to stay for free for 4 more years and not have to pay rent because they allow you to camp in their parking lot in your car. Okay, let me pull the strings around that. Can't camp in the parking lot, but if you have a car, you have your own parking spot. Or students have, you know, a little parking sticker on their car, and you're allowed to park in the parking lot. Therefore, since I didn't have time to go home every night, or where the heck home was at that point, I slept in my car. And it was easier because I would have to be at practice at 6:20 a.m. in the morning, and then I would be in school to 10 p.m. at night. 10 p.m. at night was my last class, and it was orchestra class, and I was playing the trombone in orchestra and piano. And so my schedule in college went like this. So if I didn't commute to school, so if I had to commute to school, it would be 5:50 wake up in the morning, get in the car, get out of your basement, get in the car, and go to school. Now, at this point in my life, my family was doing all right financially. We had a house in Wantor. My parents were way over their heads. I'll tell you that, couldn't afford it. But I feel like, you know, my family coming from Sicily, it's like they wanted to look good. They wanted to have nice things. Sure. You know, my best friend was my dog. And he's still alive. He's still there. He's with my sister right now. My dog Bentley, who I've had ever since we moved to Long Island. He's almost 14, 15 years now. I feel like I just saw him recently before I came to Japan, my dog. And I want to say I feel like it's just quite sad because I think that might have been the last time I'll ever see him because, you know, he almost can't walk now. He's, in human years, he's 104 years old. You know, he could be dead at the time I'm recording this video right now. I won't know because I don't really talk much to my family often and it's been years since I've talked to my family in Sicily. Since 2017 was the last time I was in Sicily. And my dog, you know, I don't think I'm gonna see him again, and I'm not coming back to the United States for a while. I'm in Japan for a very long time now. I won't see him. I'm pretty certain I won't see my dog, who was literally my best friend. Like we'd collect the bottles together, man. We'd collect the bottles when I was a kid. When I was 12, 13, 14 years old, 10 years old, 9, 11 years old. I'd go out with my dog. We'd go on the bike together, and I'd put a bag of bottles on his back, and I'd carry my bag of bottles on my bike, and then another bag here. Man, it was teamwork. We were making money, and we'd go to the store and we'd buy food, and oh my God, that was the best friendship you could have ever freaking had. But you know, the guy's old. He's 15 years old. He's gonna be 15, and you know, the way life is, you don't live forever. And I hope I make 100, because I'd like to know right now I have like 75 freaking years to go, and in 75 years I could do so much. In 75 years, like I did so much right now. I mastered every art. I mastered the piano. I mastered artwork, painting, running. I mastered so many things. But to say there's 75 years to go, it would be great. But anyway, I want to go back I'm back in college now, and I would get to school 6:10 a.m. and practice was 6:20, and we run from 6:30. I would do about 14 to 20 miles in the morning. 6:30 to 6:30 to 8 a.m. You know, an hour and a half to 8:30, right? And the class started at 9:20, or my early class, so I had to get back to practice and go to class and do whatever the shit they had us doing. And I was in the music program. You know, there were like one or two people I really liked. I can't say I hated everybody, but fuck, I hated everybody. I don't want to pull out people's names, but there were a few people who were really cool. I remember the piano player in our jazz ensemble. His name was Mike Gale. You know, an awesome jazz pianist guy. Like, he was a tall African American guy, big strong guy. Played the piano, played the sax. You know, the definition of a New York jazz guy. Great guy. Another girl, her name was Rose. Rose is snarty, and she was, you know, Italian like I am. You know, we come from the same family, and she was an amazing pianist. Great, you know. And a few people, and great people. But generally, I generally just didn't like hanging out with people. In my program, didn't have that college experience. I don't want anything. Man, they give college yearbooks out, and I'm like, I don't want this. I think the only fun time I had in college was I did enjoy my track team, and I did actually make some really awesome friends on my track team, and who were my training buddies well after college, all the way until my professional, entering professional career. Whenever I was in New York, my friend Ryan Healy, he was just always there, and we were always running together. And I remember in college, I'd go to class, and then it was around lunchtime. I had to get in another 10 miles of running, so I'd run 15 miles in the morning and then another 10 in the afternoon. I was blowing myself out like all the time because I had to be good. I had to try my best. And anything in life, if you don't try your best, you fucking suck, or you fail. If you don't try your best, and I always said this, I want to inspire people to do crazy shit, to be the best mother person you can be. The best person you can be. Because if you don't, you're a waste. And everything you do, you try your best and do whatever you freaking can. Because you could be an average guy like me, and I've always was an average guy. And I got a little bit better each time and every time, and it felt so good to me. And that's why I started this YouTube channel. I started this YouTube channel was around 2013. And before that I had a high school YouTube channel. But I started this YouTube channel in 2013 knowing that I think I have something to show the world, something to say to show the world. And my videos never got super popular because I never paid for advertising. They were a bit all over the place, but that's okay because I'm a person who's been all over the place and has done a lot. you know, my theme was running and travel. This is a travel channel, this is a running channel, this is a vlogging channel, and it's just my crazy ass New York City Sicilian Italian life. So I'd run those 10 miles in the afternoon. I'd run those 10 miles in the afternoon, and I'd go back to class, and then I would eat dinner in my car. And I would do everything in my car. And there's this grocery store that had fruits. And I would always buy a case of bananas. I'd buy this case of bananas, 100 bananas a week. You know, I'd have 10 of them, 20 of them a day or whatever. Because you needed to frickin' eat a lot of frickin' food. And, and then I had some classes that would go to 10 p.m. So Thursday was Tuesday, Thursday, 10 p.m. class, which orchestra and band class. And, you know, it was pretty late. I would sleep in my car during lunchtime. So it was like your regular lunchtime at like 12 o'clock, I'd go running again. And then afternoon classes. And then I would like 3 or 4 p.m. Or it was 12 o'clock, I would sleep for an hour in my car. And then like 2 or 3 p.m. I would go running again, and then have like the night classes or whatever. And now at times, because I had to be up so early in the morning, I wanted to be sleeping at like 10:05 p.m. and then wake up at 6. So I'd sleep in my car in the back seat. I'd roll everything down. I would sleep there. So throughout the week, I didn't get dorming to go to school. So I'd live in my car in the parking lot sometimes, and had the shower at the school, had everything I need. If I didn't have to go to work from 6 to 10 p.m. So like usually it was like Tuesday, Thursdays was you know, late classes, and then Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Saturday, Sunday used to work all day. Monday, Friday, Wednesday was like go to work from 6 to 10 p.m. at the gym. Not too far from Adelphi, but I mean it still was a drive. Yeah, a lot of work, a lot of crazy work, and I stick. So that's, you know, hard work schedule. I'll do 15 hours of work here in Japan, and you know it's just the way it is. So I'd sleep in my car. I remember one time I camped out on the golf course at Adelphi. Like I was talking to myself, I was like, "Yo, I bet you I could stealth camp in the woods, just like in the bushes, and nobody will find out." And they're like, "Yeah, you should totally do that." So I did one night, and I came to school, and my teammates were like looking at me. I was like, "You slept on the golf course, didn't you?" I'm like, "Yeah, damn right, I fucking did." I could do it. And oh boy, the camera battery's gonna die. I could do it. So now throughout the years of college, I got pretty good at running, and I realized that like if I really work hard at this will be my job after college. I remember placing in indoor track nationals. No, it wasn't national. Okay, so we had East Coast Conference, and there was this one guy. His name was Mike Biwat, and he was the guy I always had a race against. This guy from Kenya, and Johnny Chirchir, two guys, and they became good friends of mine. They still are good friends of mine. Best competition, and he was that person that wasn't just competition, but he was that person that would help me run faster, because he was the only guy who could push me, and he was better. He was a sub 14-minute guy at the time in college, and you know, we'd battle it out, and it was just the most amazing thing. I never could beat him because he was strong. And I remember every time when he would take off for the final kick, and you could feel his power. We'd close in 60 seconds for the last 400, and I still never beat him. I remember that senior year, in spring track, that last race before nationals. Now, junior year of nationals, I went to nationals. Senior year of nationals, I went to nationals for the 10K and 5K. But I remember the power this guy had. I was so certain in our Northeast Coast Conference ECCs that I was gonna beat him. So we run three. I would race three events: the 5K, 10K, and 1500 to score points for Adelphi for the team. And the last event today was the 5K, or the 10K was the day before, and then the 5K. There was a lot of racing, but I remember we went 14:24 in that race, and it was like a sit and kick style race. And so my PR at the time was 14:18, and I ran that in Penn Relays about 3 weeks before, 14:18, and I was like 10th place, 9th place in that race, and that was great. Senior year, I'm 21 years old now, and that was great. And we're on that track, we're on that final lap of ECCs for that 5K, and we're closing in really fast. We're about to run the last mile in about 4:24, which is my mile PR. For some reason, I could break my mile PR in a 5K, but when I run a fresh mile, I would never be able to run 4:24. Never had speed. I was always strength. But we'd come to that last lap where we're about to close. We're coming in 31 seconds on that 200, and then we had to go 29 seconds. And breaking up 200 meters each wasn't that hard. You would go 31 seconds. It was fast 200, but it was hard. 29 seconds is my PR for 200, even on fresh 200. I can never run faster than 29 or 28.9, the fastest I could sprint. But I'd be able to turn that on at the end of a 5K. And I remember coming around that turn, and I'm so close to me, and he's just an inch ahead of me each time, and he just holds me off, and I feel him moving slightly faster, and then just that last 100, I'm right here, and he's right here, and we're coming up. Okay, I shouldn't be using two colors, but fuck. He's right here, I'm coming. Might be what the pony might, and he wins. And I'm so close, and I didn't beat him. And he wins like he always does. And I gotta hand it, he's just the best freaking guy in the world. He's the best guy in the world to ever race. And because he was there, he just helped me progress so much in my running, because I knew he was the guy I had to always beat, and I never beat him. 60 seconds, that last 400 meters, it was, I just remember the support of having the team, everyone cheering for you. I miss my college team, everyone on the team, because they were just there to support you, and I was always there to support them. And I feel like I wasn't the best supporter, because after my races, I would always cool down for 2 hours. I would do a 10, 20, almost a 20 mile cool down after my races, because I felt so relieved, and and I would just miss other people's races because I should have been there cheering. I know my coach wasn't too happy sometimes with it, and then I was always late coming back to the bus, because the meet would end and I'd be still cooling down, I'd be still running. I would do a 20 mile cool down, people, if I had a great race and was feeling satisfied, because I know I wanted to beat myself out so bad, recover, and get back on the track. That's the kind of shit I did. It's the kind of shit I've always did. I'd warm up for 5 miles. I'd do my races. Some days I race 3 races, 10K, 5K, and mile. Score points for the team. And by doing that, it got you into really good shape. That's what we did. And then I cooled down 10 miles, 15 miles, 20 miles. I'd run 30 miles in a day. I would see 10K plus it would be like 10 miles of racing, 5 miles of warm up, and a 15 mile cool down, 30 miles. You get 30 miles. And people tell me, that's a lot of miles. It's just like, no way anyone can do, an average guy can do that. You must be special. You must be talented. And I was never talented. I just pushed myself so hard and did things nobody did. we'd get home from the meet and it'd be at 11 o'clock at night, and I'd run another 2 miles just to shake out from the bus ride home. It was just that incredible focus, that incredible power, that incredible thing I had, and I still have it. And every time I would train, all the way up until now, it would be that style, to push so deeply, to feel so hard, to feel so hard, to do something that people would think is absolutely nuts, but succeed in it. It felt so good throughout my whole life, throughout my whole college career, to accomplish something. And man, after that race, it was the national championship, senior year, 2015 it was, and that was 5 years ago. 2015, I got to the national qualifier, and the guy to beat at nationals was a man named Taylor Stevens. He was a 6'7" he was 6'7", this guy. He was top in the nation for steeplechase. He actually placed in USA's in college for the steeplechase. He was like in top 10 or something. For the 3,000 meter steeplechase, I believe he ran 8:12 or something like that, or 8:17 or whatever. And at that time, my personal best is like 8:02 at 3K after college, and that's why I was running 13s for the 5K. I mean, and he was running 13:40 in college. He ran 13:40 5K, Tabor Stevens. I had no way of catching this guy because I was a 14-18 guy in college. From Colorado, born in Colorado. One of the greatest athletes I ever met. And maybe it's the altitude training, I don't know, at that time, but this guy, you could not beat this guy. Mike Biwat, the guy who I always try to beat, could not beat this guy. So no way you could beat this guy. But one day, it came down to the 5K. So it was on a double. I ran the 10K, and then 2 days after in nationals. So I was 5th place in the 10K. And that was huge. I was going up. I forget the name of the guy. Another tall, skinny guy who's like, he was like a 6'5" guy. At the time in college, I was about 6'3". I'm just a pretty average guy. I'm not super tall. I'm not super small. As still right now, I'm a lot taller. Some people's body don't stop growing until like 24 or 25. Anyway, going from that, I remember that double we had. So after that 5K, great. I placed decently, 5th place. We did a shakeout run the next day with Coach Katie, and the next day after that was the 5K. And I remember, most of these races are like sit and kick races. We don't go out too fast. We're not pretty slow. I'm talking about the first mile, like 4:55 it was, almost 5 minutes. But things were starting to turn up. And my coach was like, always said to me, put yourself in the front of the pack in striking distance, because when they start taking off for the kick, you'll never be able to kick them because everyone will be at max speed right then and there. And if you're 2 meters behind, you're not going to be able to make up because you don't have the speed, you don't have the kick, but you have the mileage, you have the strength. And when you have the mileage, you can outkick longer than anyone else. So you could go 31 seconds per 2, or you go 62s for the quarters, the last couple of laps. But you can't break 60. I could not break 60. I could not close in 59 because I could not sprint an all-out 400 under 60 seconds on fresh legs. But I could close in 60.05, 60.04 for the last 400 of a 5K or a 10K. So it was 3 laps into the race, and I was so tired from the race before, and we were picking up. The second mile was in 4:40s. Still pretty slow, but at that time that's not that slow. So we had to go So 4 laps to go. Things were turning up. We ran a 68. And then 3 laps to go. Now people kick with. I knew people were gonna kick with 3K. I had to kick. They would kick with 3K to go. No, in the 10K it was 3K to go, but it was in the 5K. It's the last 1,000 meters, right? But I went from 1,200 to go, and I kicked. And I just moved 1,200 to go. My lap was 63 seconds. Because I was so tired, I was like, well, I can't get any more tired than I am right now. I thought to myself, and so I kicked, and I went 60. I pulled ahead, and then Tabor Stevens and his teammate, they were up right behind me, and then they went 62, and I couldn't hold it. They went around me. And then I went back to 5th place, and we got to that last lap. No, it was last lap, I was in the lead still. That's what it was. Last lap, I'm in the lead. Tabor Stevens just hops around me like a really tall bunny rabbit and just goes. And I'm maxed out. The power that he had, you feel the energy that he had, and he kept moving, and he went through. And we went through that 200. I heard the announcer going that 200. We got to that 200 of the last lap. That was 30 seconds. I was 30 seconds. He was 20. He was under 30. He was in 29. And a couple other guys. I was in like 4th or 5th place right now. So like a bunch of guys moved ahead of me. Tabor Stevens, he was moving ahead. Last 100 meters, he was so far gone. He finished. Now, before he was so far gone, I'm there. I'm kicking away, and I'm completely maxed out. I closed my last 229 seconds. My last lap was 59 seconds. And I sneak right into 3rd place, right behind him and his teammate. But Tabor Stevens, now the finishing time of that race was a 14:24 5K. My last mile was in 4:21, and a new mile PR, 4:21 last mile. Tabor Stevens he finished the race in 14:19 for the fast 5K, which is really slow for him. You know, my PR was only 14:18. He was a 13:44 guy. His last 400 meters was something like 54 freaking seconds, guys. Now that's power. And I was so close. I thought I had it for the win. I didn't have the win, but I placed 3rd place in that race. And I collapsed on the floor and just head to the sky, and I was just like, how? Why? It was one of the most rewarding things. I wish I would have won it, but like I can't look back and say, because he was just better than me. And just that feeling from being an average guy from elementary school, from doing everything I had to do to get to where I was, from eating out of a trash can, from collecting bottles off the street, sleeping in my car in a parking lot, getting up at practice, going to school, putting 16 hours a day to my time to do something that less than 0.0001% of the population could ever do. And like right then, it was just that realization. That day after we celebrated, we went back home to New York, and I was about to leave and move to Sicily, or go there for a while, and it was 2015, and that was the moment I realized that I wasn't going to see any some people for the rest of my life, or have that experience for the rest of my life. I was not going to be a college athlete anymore. I was not going to um, have that experience of, sleeping in my car in a parking lot, and um, go going to practice and having that experience with my teammates, because I realized at that moment, not too long after, is like there's one thing like I missed about college, and it was just that one thing, that kind of work and dedication I had running with a college team. And going back to, I knew I was going to hate college. I hated college. I hated everything about college except that one freaking thing. And I just I look back to it now, and every year it gets me that like it's somewhat depressing that like the best things that you experience in life, and when they're gone, you realize you should have cherished it a little bit more when it was there. And I looked at it and like, wow, the most crazy thing. And then it was gone, and it was over. College was over. I got a degree in whatever. That the degree didn't mean jack shit. It never helped me in my whole life. Didn't use it at all. It was just that one experience I had being on a track team, and just having that really awesome motivated coach. Katie, her name is, just being there with me, and like she's probably like one of the greatest people, and now she's like one of my best friends, that I could ever have. And like sometimes like your high school, and I didn't talk enough about my high school track coach, Mr. Hedgen. He is one of the greatest guys ever I knew. And those people, your high school track coach or your college coach, or whatever, sometimes they end up becoming the biggest inspiration in your life. And I feel that way when I coached in 2016. I coached Manhasset High School, and the team and the kids that like they really enjoyed my shit, especially my YouTube channel, but they really enjoyed my crap, and it felt pretty good to honestly have that give that experience to somebody else, to a younger generation. And they weren't really a younger generation. They're about 4 years younger than me. But at the time I was a senior in college, the freshmen coming in, and they were like, dude, this guy's fucking crazy, but it's awesome. And my teammates really seemed to like me for some reason, of all the crazy shit. And I gotta hand, all the crazy shit I've done, I gotta hand you, I really like them too. Like, I every time I would see my teammates after college or after school, and even after I graduated college, they would just look at me and laugh. There he is. There. Where have you been now? I don't know. I was hitchhiking, living van life. That's the way they know me as. And most of my YouTube people, they don't know me as this because they don't personally know me. There are people that hate me on YouTube, and there are people that really love my shit. And I really love my shit, and that's why I do my shit. If you're really good at something, and other people are kind of enjoy it, not only for yourself, but like if you can really motivate and help other people, and kind of give other people a laugh, that's the reason to do it. And that's why I still have this YouTube channel, and that's why I always do this YouTube channel. And I always want to tell the story like it is, the good and the bad, and there's going to be happy and sad parts, and there's going to be good and bad parts, and like what the fuck moments. And that's where we are today. Right now is like, that's where we are today. The what the fuck moments. So I graduated from college, a useless degree, and I went back to Sicily for a little bit. And I went to that mountain, Mount Inigi in Castellamare, the mountain where I ran my first marathon at the age of 11, which got lost and woke up on top of a cliff. And I didn't explain that story, that's a different story. I woke up on top of a cliff one day after running all night to the top of the mountain, and the first ever time my childhood, I never made the top of the mountain until that one time in 2011 I made it to this cliff. And I looked at this cliff, and it was like a dead end, and I got lost up there, and it wasn't the top of the mountain. So when I went back to Sicily, I'd use this mountain as a metaphor or a figure of speech into the way my life was, where I would run up this mountain, and the higher I would go, I never could see the top of the mountain, and I literally could not see the top, but this dirt road that would keep going and keep going, and I would look back on this dirt road on this mountain, and it never seemed like I was getting anywhere because I never could see the top. You never could see the top in life, and I never could see the top in this mountain. Now this mountain, you would have to get to the top, it would be a 26-mile run. And I'd get up this mountain, and as I was going up, I'd learn not to do certain things and ways to run the trails, and that's the way you learn in life. And it would get steeper on top of this mountain because the way this mountain goes, it starts more gradual, and just about any mountain, when you get to the top, I guess the people who dug out the road were like, all right, we're almost there, so they start making it steeper to make it go quicker, but it gets really freaking steep. Starts out at like 10% grade and then goes 20%, and then you're up on a 40% grade, and that's something like this kind of an incline where it's going to be a 10-minute mile. The last mile, and I get to the top of the mountain, and there are different roads that go different ways, and one way is a better way to the mountain, one way is a longer way or best way, and I've taken the wrong path in life, and yes, on this road that I've had to backtrack to find that trail and find the trail again. And in life, you're going to realize that you're going to make mistakes, you're going to make wrong turns, and that you're going to have to backtrack. Take 2 steps back to make 2 steps forward. That you're going to have to backtrack about on the trail to find your way to the top of the mountain. And the more mistakes you make, the more you're going to learn. The more mistakes you make, the more you're going to learn. And so you make mistakes and you learn. And then you go on. And as I was running up that mountain, I look back, and you could look over. So the trail goes winding up like this, and you look down 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet, and I'm like, wow, I see the trail where I was before. And now that I'm higher up, I could see further. Because I've learned so much, I could see more, and now I literally could see where I was down, back there, all the way down. It was a lot hotter on that. There was asphalt road in the beginning, like when into town, it was hot and miserable, until you kind of come up in the mountains, it gets cooler and nicer, and you see back how far you were, where you were in the past. And you remember that turn down there by that mountain road? It was really steep, or there's some rocks there, and the bad rocks over there, and and you got up here, and you're like, yeah, I got here. I was like, I didn't die yet. Might as well keep going. So I kept going. I get to the top. I make it through the woods, and the sun is starting to rise, and I'm just, it was early in the morning, so the sun is coming out, and I get to this forest, and you have to run through the forest, and it's just a different part. It covers you over. It feels like you're inside something. You come out of the forest, and then you get to these rocks, and we're gonna call them bad rocks. Christopher Columbus came up here one day. He was exploring Magellan. He was exploring the whatever. He came up here one day. He was like, "We're not gonna go that way. There's gonna be a rocks right here, bad rocks." Yeah. This part of the trail is unrunnable for about 200 meters. But I get over, and I see the blue sky. And I see there's something over there, and I get to the top, and there's just this 3,000-foot drop to the countryside from where my house is out in Sicily. It's the top of the cliff that I saw the top of the cliff, but like I made it to the cliff. I'm like, shit, I'm still not at the top of the mountain. But then I look over to the left, and I finally could see the peak of the mountain. It's another 1,000 feet higher and like 4 miles, maybe like 3 miles away. But I got to this cliff, and I realized that like you know, where I've come at this point in my life is a bit of a turning point because I've realized something in life. You know, when I was younger, I was like, you know, maybe all this shit is about me. It's like, I gotta get somewhere. I gotta do something. And, you know, I come to this cliff and I come to this turning point and I realized the whole point of this mountain was not really just to do it for myself, but it was to inspire a group of a young generation. It was to inspire people to follow my footstep, maybe the path that I followed in life, and literally the footprints I set in the trail and this path, you know, I created for other people to follow, to become inspired, and to help them grow on their way to this point of where I am in life. And I realized my whole turning point on this cliff is to inspire people. And I look to the left and now I can see the top of the mountain, and I see the way to the top of that mountain is to set the example and to inspire everyone else. And boom, I see the top of the mountain. And it wasn't that year I made it to the top. It was like the next year I came back after, it was 2014, right? It was 2015. And it was after Nationals, after I got third place in that 5K, I went back to Sicily. You know, quite a few years later, I went back to Sicily and I ran to the top of that fucking mountain. I made it to the top. It was 25 miles back. I came down. I didn't have any water. I went back. I made it back to the road, and then I literally passed out. Like I was down. I couldn't run, and I waved the car. A car stopped and gave a farmer. He gave me water, and I remember throwing up on the side of the road and then passing out in my own vomit. It was about 118, 120 degrees that day in the sun. So I learned that the next time I would go up that mountain, I would take a little different path because I know it's a little bit further, but there's a well to drink water. And actually throughout time, my body became more resilient to the heat. I was able to make the whole marathon trip in 110 degrees without drinking anything. And my body just does weird shit. And yeah, so my battery keeps dying. Oh, my battery first just died right now. So, going on. And that was that experience. Now, the next chapter of my life, you know, I got back down from that summer in Sicily, and I get back on the track. It was winter 2015, 2016 now. And the fall of 2015, I ran my first real marathon, and I ran a 2:24 in Philadelphia, and it was the first time training for a marathon. And going to that, I realized by that performance, I didn't feel like I was ever going to be a good marathon runner. And yet, as still today, I am not. And I've never, I've only run like 2 marathons. So, 3 marathons. And, you know, I once asked myself, I was like, well, I'm someone who had no speed on the track. And I always thought, well, I'd be awesome at the marathon. And I never really was. But going back, I remember that fall training for my first marathon. And, you know, I'd put in the 180 mile weeks, 170 mile weeks, the 30, 40 mile days. And 50 mile tempo ones, and I'd get them in. And, yeah, you know, I'd run. My workouts were pretty decent. My track workouts were always better. And at the time I'd do mile repeats in like under 440, 438. My best 5 by mile repeat is right around under 430 each with 2 minutes rest. But going back a few years, you know, with I think it was 3 minutes rest, 4:38. I was doing those mile repeats. Pretty good. 2:16, 2:15s for the 800s. Those are my track interval times. I would do 63, 64s, 62s, fastest for 400s. If I would do if I would do like 14 by 400, it'd be like 67, 66. All the way up until like last year, I was doing 14 by 400 and like 62, 63. But anyway, that's a different story. But for this marathon, the goal was to go like 5:20 pace. And I would get that, and I remember for tempo runs for 16 miles, like 5:26 pace, 5:25 pace, which at the time was pretty good. I got my tempo runs up until last year all the way down to like 5:04 pace, to like 15, 16 miles. But I didn't race the marathon, and the marathon I was gonna do. Maybe it was too hot, or maybe I just wasn't feeling that day. But around 5:0 pace for about 20 miles, and I dropped out. I was like my so-called best performance, but like whatever. As for my first marathon, 2:24:34 or something like that. It was all right, I guess, but it's an average. It's a very mediocre average time. Anybody could really do that. My track times are much better than that, and I figured, okay, I'll go back on the track. From the endurance, from those long tempo runs, I noticed I built up this second wave of strength, because when I got on the track, I ran a 8:17 3K, and then I ran a 14:02 5K in the Boston Terrier meet, and I was like, wow. I was so close to running sub 14, and my whole goal was always, I gotta break 14. I gotta do it. I gotta break 14 minutes. And then I came back 2 weeks to the Valentine Invitational in Boston. I wanted to do it, and then I ran 14:18. I mean, I was already burnt from 2 weeks ago. I just ran a 4:22 mile. And that's good, because if you're going to break 14, all you have to do is 4:27 pace. And if you can run 1 mile 4:22, then you can run 3 miles in 4:27. Now, don't call me bullshit on this, because I know a lot of our running enthusiast people, that doesn't make any sense. But I'm like, it makes sense when you put the mileage in and you become stronger. If you're not a fast guy, if you're not a speedy guy, you got to do more mileage. That's just the way it works. I see a lot of people that are running 4:20 miles and they can run sub 60 for 400s, but they're running 60-minute 5Ks. Let's go over your chart. This is your chart. What are you doing wrong? You're running 60 miles a week. That's your problem. It's just, that's the way it is. Now, I get a lot of ridicule from a lot of people online and saying the training schedule is crap. You have 110 miles a week for this 60-minute training program, and I'm like, you guys aren't getting it. It's, if you start running 110 miles a week, you're going to lower your 16-minute 5K time to like 15 minutes. That's the philosophy. But like generally, a lot of people just don't know how it works, because they don't know what it feels like to run 13 minutes, to run 14 minutes. And if you experience it, your way of thinking would just be a little different. So a lot of in general, a fair amount of comments I get on the YouTube channel, people tell me that they know it's right, it's better, don't understand the actual concept of it, and actually aren't, decently fast athletes running 13:30, 13:20 5Ks. The professional athletes that I've talked with and trained with that run 13:20, 13:10, 13:30, and guys that were a little faster than me, they would say, my training program, it's the right way to go. So people that are faster than me are telling me that my training program makes sense, but everyone who is slower than me telling my training program aren't making sense. Makes you question the people that are slower than you, that are telling you that you're doing it wrong. Those are the people that are constantly limiting themselves until doing the right thing that'll actually make them fast. That's why they're slower, because they limit themselves. Why some guys are faster is because they don't limit themselves. A lot of Kenyan athletes, they see crazy shit and they want to do crazy shit. That's why they're good. Americans, Europeans, they tend to overanalyze things. If you really look at it, to the bottom of running, it's just crazy shit. You do a lot of mileage, you do a lot of speed work, you hammer yourself into ways you never think possible. It's how it works, and any other professional athlete can relate to that. But anyway, that spring, I went to Raleigh, and this was the day I was going to do it. I was going to break 14 minutes. I was going to run 13:52 or something like that. And I knew it. And just a week before, I did a nice 9-mile tempo run at 5:06 pace on hills, on roads by the Sunken Meadow course, where I had my high school cross-country state championships in Sunken Meadow. So on those same kind of hills, but on the roads. And I ran them at 15 minutes per 15 minutes per 15:30 something per 5K. 15:50 per 5K or so. And I remember I never could break 17 minutes for one race, but now I'm here doing 15K tempo and 47:10 that was, on 5:06 pace, or was 5:04 pace, something like that. And I was ready. I was ready to go run that 13 something. I get on the track. I get to Raleigh, and it's one evening, and I'm in the the top heat. There are a couple of Brooks guys in it, and I run a race a little different than most races. A lot of these guys, they like to go out fast. They go out 4:15 first mile, 4:18. I'd like to just get out in 4:25, 4:26. So we go out, the gun goes off, and I always get pushed to the back. The tall guy always gets pushed to the back, I don't know. So I get around and I get to the front. And I'm going out, getting ready to go out. I want to go out in 4:24, 4:25. Guys behind me, they don't want me to do that. They're pushing me, and they're like, pick it up, and they're like literally pushing, like, I'm about to get tripped here. We're going through 65, 66s, first 3 laps, and I'm like, this is too fast. 65s was. 65s, you're looking at 13, sub 13:40 pace. And, but that's what you gotta do. It's what you gotta do, is what you gotta do. Third lap, I get pushed back a little bit into the pack. And I go into that first mile through my mile PR in 4:23, right on it. And I knew today was the day I was gonna break 14 minutes. And I'm bobbing around in the pack, and I never could. I'm really bad at. I'm a terrible track runner, honestly. And this is the first race where I really learned to run track, and actually be in an elite heat. And these guys could run 13:30, right? 13:40. But very few people do. Most of this race, they were gonna run 14s low, right? But I just remember that feeling, coming through that first mile. I'm already spent, exhausted, and I just had to hold up 1 lap at a time, or 2 laps at a time. I thought, I was like, just get 2 more laps in at the same pace. Then it's just, okay, 2 more laps. And then once I get to the last, 1 more lap, and then I get to the last 1,200 meters, just what I thought back when I was in nationals. In college, like 1,200 meters. If I could hold up here, you just gotta go hard now. I get to that 1,200 meters, and I just feel like I'm fading. And it's just, all right, one more lap, half a mile. You can do it. It's 2 minutes, half a mile. You know, I remember back in, my last 800 was 204 of national, or two. I closed 204 at National Champions College 2015 against Tabor Stevens. Last 800 was 204. He broke 2 minutes. Good for him. But I all I needed was like a 208 at this point. So I had a little slower middle miles, and I was coming back, and then 208, 210. I need a sub 210, and I'm like, that shouldn't be too hard for me to do. I get to the last two laps. All I have to go is like 66 and 63. And I remember going 66, and then I had a 32. What was it? I had like a 30. No, it was pretty fast. 30. It was about, okay, one lap to go, and then 32 seconds into that last 200, and then it was like I needed like a 29 or something, and it was that moment. It was like, it's gonna happen today. It's all enough. If you don't give anything and feel what life is at that one moment, that one point in my life, well, if you didn't do it now, you may never do it again. If you didn't do it now, you may never do it again. And I just, as hard as I can, coming around that turn, it was just that most vigorous sprint, that fire I had the year before at Nationals when I took on Tabor Stevens for that last kick. It was just that fire. It came, and I just went. And I passed a few guys at the end. I was only like 8th place in the race, but I just remember looking at the clock. I was ticking, and I went through, and I looked up to the sky, and I realized that I made it. And I was just down on the ground. And it was just this overwhelming feeling of emotion that, like, I did something that no human being, or very few human beings, could ever do in their entire lifetime. And very few athletes, very few runners could ever achieve in your lifetime. Because this time I just ran was a world record when my parents were kids. That means I am the fastest person in my family, but not just my family, but up until like 1950, 1960, in the world. And that just spoke to me as like, I do something at that level, and it's amazing. What so many years, it just came to that one moment. And I just remember laying on the track, and then the official was like, all right, move along, sir, we gotta clear up for the next race. I just couldn't move, man. I get off, and I'm just walking around the field in daze, and I'm like looking up. And I remember one coach, his name was Michael Crouch, and I saw him right before the race, and he's the coach of AIC, American International. He coached Michael B. Watt. And I remember seeing him before the race, and he was there, and he's become a good friend throughout the past years, even through college, but great guy. And I remember saying to him, I remember saying to him before the race, he looked at me and he said, hey, you ready to give it a go again or something? He said to me. I was like, yeah, I'm going to break 14 today. And after that race, I was like, I broke 14. And that was it. I walked out. I went to the parking lot. I got my YouTube camera out. I had to make a quick YouTube vlog, and it's there. And I cooled down for a while, a couple miles, and I just couldn't believe what I did. I just couldn't believe how fast that time was. I've never broken 4:20 for a mile, and to run just a little bit slower than that, but 3 times in a row. It's just the most exhilarating feeling. And after that, that was the last 5K for that year, I remember. And then I went to do a half marathon. I ran an hour 5 that spring because all the good speed that my leg. Later, I ran 20. I remember doing a smaller 10K on a track. Now, 10K is to be able to be invited to big competition. It doesn't happen until you're running under 28 minutes. You know, it's just a big gap, and this was the hardest thing in my track career, which really annoyed me so much. Is that I never could find a 10K race that people would push me to go low 28s throughout my whole entire career. But I remember getting on a track and running 29:09 at Bucknell University, leading the race from the start and running by myself. And another guy in the race, his name is Kieran Sutton. He's like a year younger than me, and he was there a little bit with me in the race, I remember. And he ran a great time in that race. I think he was only like 7 seconds behind or so at the end. And I remember putting the pedal to the metal. That I remember we were going 440 pace that's the pace you gotta run. And then I started pulling away, and then, you know, the legs were good. I started going 69, 68, 66, 64, and then I closed at 62 on my own, or something like that. My last mile was a good 428, 427, and I closed the last 5K in 14:22 was the last 5K of that 10K, and we went out slower in like 14:44 or something like that. And man, I was strong. I just felt so strong. I just wished, you know, there was never a 10K race I could get into. The only 10K races I got into where people pushed me was when I started racing on the professional level. Right after that, and bigger 10K road races, and running 29 minutes on the road, which is way harder with hills and whatever. And having a handful of those, but I wasn't racing as much as I used to, because if I couldn't get now I was in the midst of getting small like sponsorships, and if I couldn't get paid to travel to a race or anything, I was running out of money, and I couldn't pay the race fee really. I was still making, you know, $9 an hour, whatever, mopping floors. I've been mopping floors. I was always mopping floors throughout everything. I must have been the fastest floor mopper, janitor, or whatever in the country at that time. And I ran the Boilermaker that year. I placed 18th in the USA Half Marathon Championships that year, and I ran a 105 something. Missed in the Olympic trials, standard pretty short again, but whatever. You know, 5:02 pace for a marathon or so, 5:03 pace for a half marathon. It's not bad. It's pretty good. It's pretty average once again for the road. And going on the professional level, it's pretty slow. Even my 5K, you know, you run 13:50, 13:40. It's average. You know, I think a lot more people could be, you know, running those times with the correct amount of training. But like, going to the professional ground, I never was good enough to really make enough money. I would win small road races, and that was my paycheck. I'd get some flights paid, and some little bit of sponsors paid to run road races and whatnot. But if you're not running 27 minutes on the road for 10K, you know, you're really not that good, unfortunately. 29 minutes is in the void. 13:50 is 13:40, whatever, is in the void of where nobody runs those times. Only very few. So everybody runs 14:10, everybody runs 14:20, everybody runs 15-minute 5K, and then all the professionals run 12:59, 13:10, 13:05. um, find the race where you want to be pushed to run 13:30, 13:40. There wasn't anything. There was just this huge gap from normal regular people, like me and you, to the top elite professional. Like there was just huge gap, and there was no space in between. And anyone who gets stuck in the space between has nobody ever to train with, nobody to run with. And for honestly, even throughout college, since I was probably a minute ahead, running mid low 14s, I was about a minute ahead of my next teammate. For my whole running career, 12 years, I was completely alone all the time for the most part. I do easy runs with people, that's about it. But this was something that I realized that if you're going to want to be good at this sport, you're going to have to go it alone, because nobody's going to take the dedication to train with you and do everything that you can do, which, in a sense it does suck, but that bridge to make it to that top professional level, you have to deal with, you're too slow to get on a team. You have to run 13:10, this is American standards, right? And if you're not good enough. If you're 19 years old and you run 13:40, and if you're a 24-year-old and you run 13:40, any sponsor's going to take the younger guy. That's the way it is. I'm too old, unfortunately, when it comes to business, and that's what I became to realize. What running onto the professional level, that this is becoming kind of a shitty business, and it's taking the fun out of it. And all I wanted to do was one thing I wanted to do was get in a race. Back in 2016 to 2017, maybe 2018, at some point, to get accepted into a race where the top guys would go sub 28 minutes for 10K, because that was the next goal to hit. At the time I was consistently running under 13:50. No problem. I would get on the track and do repeat 5Ks in 14:30. 2x5K, 14:30, 14:25, 14:20. My fitness was strong, very strong, but there wasn't a race I could get into. Even for the 5K, I'd run in the same type of group of people that would run, the same times. Everyone was trying to go for 14 minutes. It was only that time in Raleigh, and I think that's probably seems to be the only race where top guy would go 13:40 or so. But every year the heat could be different. Like, it could be slower. It could be just a slower day. The top fastest guys aren't there, or it could just be a much faster. That day, one day of the year in March 14th, 2015, it was. It just happened to be a faster day, and I got killed, but I ran fast. It came to the point after that I was only leading races, and I couldn't push myself to go faster, because if you have people to work with, they kind of break the wind with you a little bit. And even one of my fastest 10K, I ran it by myself. How much faster can I go if I had somebody working with me, or having a pacer? But the only opportunity you get with that is you have to be in a faster race to go with those 27-minute guys. Is you would have to run just around 28 flat or under 28 minutes to be accepted to those races. How do you get there if you have to do it yourself? The whole concept of teamwork is like running as a team is a team thing where you're competing or teaming with people. It doesn't work if you're gonna lap people 2 times over to run 28:50. 29 minutes. It was. I figured, well, I keep training, and eventually my tempo runs. Just like Ed Cheserwick would do 28-30 minute tempo run around the track, by himself. It's a tempo run, then I would be like, all right, if I work to get into shape where I could by myself run 28 minutes I'd get on the track and win this 27 minute heat 10K race and run 27:30 or something like that. But it was hard. Every day was lonely for me after college. Going back to saying that college was, I hated it, and then I missed it. That one thing, being on the track team. You were after that. I was on my own after school. 6 a.m. I'd go to Bethpage State Park in Long Island, and I'd go running 6 in the morning, and then I get back and I do what I have to do, and then I go running again, and I would train. Then I'd mop floors every night, same thing every day, and I'd tell my philosophy, and I would do it, and I'd do it all the time, and just and then soon after that, I went back to Sicily in 2017, and here comes the next part of this story. I did whatever I did in Sicily. I worked the farm. I dug the holes. I watered the vegetables. And then I came back to New York, and things weren't really going so great with staying with family or anything, and I was a bit running out of money. It was the fall of, the fall of 2017. It was September, October. I was just running out of money because I spent all my money on food and some travel, and working so hard with this running thing, you're not really earning that much, and I'm mopping floors. I didn't have any other choice but to move into my car a little bit. Every once in a while I get a basement to crash in. I wasn't completely in my car, but funniest thing was, like, I remember running a 3K race in Boston and running 8.0s that winter from 2017 2018. I was just living in my car, and I PR'd. So I'm like, yeah, you could do just about anything at this point. But I had a couple $1,000s in the bank account. It was going quick, and I needed to find a way to make money, and the best way to do that was to live in my car and move into New York City. And I ended up living in Astoria Park, Queens. So Astoria Park, Queens, they allow you to park your car there overnight. And the reason for this park was I was right next to the subway, and to make a little extra money, I had to go panhandle, basically, with a hat. But since I was a musician, I wasn't all panhandling. And I got this keyboard that I had for a long time. I got it out of a trash can, and a piano. And I had this amp. It was battery powered. And so I would sit in the subway 10 hours a day, and I would play music. And this is where my subway busking started in 2017. And I realized that, like, okay, if I don't get my shit together, make some money, nothing's gonna work out. And it kind of hit me at that point that I spent so many years running so hard, just doing everything I can, and all of a sudden it's coming to this, that, like, I can't get a real job. I applied to, like, bigger jobs, even like some office jobs, a job that I could earn at least like $14-15 an hour or something, because then I'd be good, I'd be happy. You can make a living with that. I could rent my own place or whatever, but I ended up being the subway guy, and people knew me as the subway guy. People would come to the same spot every day, or just to watch me play, because I played pretty decent. I've been playing piano for about 22 years, and the joy was to bring joy to other people going to their work every day, and people really liked it. People really loved my shit. Once again, I do shit that people like sometimes, and so I keep doing it. And I would play down in Lexington Avenue, 59th Street. That subway station was good, and sometimes I'd dress up as like a wizard, like I'd wear my bathrobe and a hat, and I'd pretend I'm the Lord of the Gandalf from Lord of the Rings, and then I would play the symphony on the strings on the keyboard, coming around that winter time. And people loved it. Like people loved that sort of thing. And now in the fall, I'd make almost $100 a day. $100 a day. Yeah, I'd play I'd run in the morning. I'd run 14 miles in the morning. I'd go play music, for most of the day. I try to make $100, and in certain times of the week it was hard. Like Mondays, nobody would give you much. I quit. I didn't do my floor mopping job that much anymore because I realized I can make a little more doing panhandling and music. And if I made $100, I was saying that's pretty freaking good. Got some money, feeling all right. You can't afford rent in New York City because rent is like $3,000 a month. I would literally spend everything and get nowhere. And go back to my car. Now at this time I was still in my little car that I financed, so I removed the front seat to put a bed. I didn't even have a van, which really sucked. I'd figure I'd panhandle for a while and save up money for a van, which I did. So I go back, and then I would do like an afternoon run or whatever. I would do my running twice a day because I was still running track. I was still competing, and literally the whole city just didn't realize that like there's some homeless guy living in a Astoria Park that's beating your fucking ass right now, and it's funny. I'd win some road races. I'd place road races. Yeah, that's the subway guy. I'm the subway guy. Haven't we seen you before? Yeah. I'd go back to my car, and I'd sleep there all night. And it's a little sketchy, but I think Astoria Park was a nice place. It took me about a week or two. I don't know why it took me so long, but I realized that I wasn't the only genius doing this. I noticed there must have been about 30 other people living in their car. Maybe in the same situation as me, or maybe just completely homeless living in their car. And that's basically what I felt. Like I was, just living in my car. The other street performers or whatever, I met another guy who's playing his guitar in the subway and would just sleep in his van in the parking lot, and like you do that. There's another homeless couple living in like a broken down car in the parking lot, or really, they had all their stuff in the car. Like the whole backseat was loaded with everything, like it was a junk car. And they were just living there, and God bless. This is a situation where unfortunately a lot of people end up in. You could go to college, you could be working your job, you could be somewhat of a strong successful athlete, and then all of a sudden you end up living in your car. That's just the way it is in New York. We don't have any money. The city's broke. They can't give a dirtbag like me a job. Nobody would give me a job. I didn't have a record of, the funny part is like I didn't have a record of having a full-time job. I never did. So when it came to applying for a real job after college, like it was just that one section on the application form I couldn't fill out that I had references other than just, my gym job. And what job can you get with a degree in music, and the reason why I had to go to school for music degrees because it was a scholarship. I got music scholarship and I got athletic scholarship. So it was two things that got me into school. I figured that's two things that'll make me money in real life. And you know what made me money in real life? Back to my music thing. I was panhandling in the subway to make $100 a night, $100 a day because I had a talent. And you know the whole moral of what that is: if you have a talent, you have a job. It may not be a great job, but you know, at least you won't go hungry. So. But you know, I meet a lot of people in the subway, but at the end of the day, it was a pretty lonely kind of thing. Where, like, I was always in my own little world, and you know, back to my car, back to the subway. One night I was playing my guitar. I had a guitar and my little piano, and I also play the trombone. So. And I never felt comfortable leaving anything in my car when I was out running, because cars do get broken into, unfortunately, in New York City a lot. And knock on wood, thankfully I didn't have that happen to me yet. So that would have been the end of me. I don't have my instrument. I don't have my asset to create money with. So I would go. One time I was in Washington Square Park. I've never been down there, and you know, I'm kind of having just a shit night. You know, life kind of sucks at that point. And this people from Korea and China they're all singing songs in the park, about like 20 of them, most of them girls. And but this guy comes over to me. He hands me a flyer. He's like, "Here, would you like to spread the word of God with us?" I'm like, "Oh, one of these people again." Yeah. You know, my family's Catholic. Yeah, we go to church every once in a while, but whatever. But this weird thing just kind of hit me. This guy hands me a you know, a little songbook, and he asks me, "Can you play guitar?" Whatever. So I'm like, you know, I love Asian people. I don't know, it's awesome. They're awesome people, and maybe that's why I'm in Japan here. But let me go back to another story. We're gonna hold off right here on, okay, panhandling in Washington Square Park, and this happens. Let's go back now to the year of 2015, after I just ran that 1355K, and I've been talking to this girl for a while that I met because I was hitchhiking in Sicily and I got robbed, and I've been talking to this girl ever since, and she's from China, this Chinese girl, and she's from Inner Mongolia, and she became, you know, a good friend, a great person to talk to. And in 2015, everything was going great. Everything was going freaking great. You know, I was mopping the floors, running fast, and I'm about to go move to China for a little bit. And from, so it was 2016 that summer, right? So around, it was March 2016, I believe, yeah. March 2016, I ran that 5K, and then coming that summer after USA's that spring, running that half marathon, I went to China. I went to the land of China, and I was like, man, when I got into China, I was like, holy fucking shit, I'm in China. That's exactly what I said, because I never thought, how the heck did I get here? I ended up living with this, my girlfriend in China, and China's an amazing place. Inner Mongolia, China. It's like the border of Mongolia and China, so it's up in that, you know, mountainous area, not like big city, but this was kind of a decent sized city called Huhat, or Huhat. So look up Hohat in the English pronunciation, and you'll find that city that I was in for a little bit of while. And man, this Chinese girlfriend. She was half Mongolian though. She had that Mongolian complexion, a little different face, a little different eyes, but oh man, it was awesome. And she's in some of my old YouTube videos from a few years ago. And I'm in China, and just living in China. I don't know, learning Chinese, going around. First, flew into Beijing, and then I went to Mongolia, and then I was there for a while. Took the train there and do things what Mongolian people do, I guess. And our family was very rough on me. That Chinese families, they want to marry rich people, and they generally care for money a little bit before relationships. And my girlfriend really wasn't much about that, but I didn't have much much money at that time, and my job was to be a professional athlete, and like, who in the fucking world does that? I mean, that's unique in itself. Love me for who I am at this point, and for what I've accomplished. If I really want to go make money, I'll go make money, and the panhandling, fuck, you make so much on Christmas time, would be retarded. But anyway, I get so I was there for a while, and then I had to go back to America. That fall 2016, I placed third in the Cow Harbor 10K, back to running stuff again, and it was good. So but now, going back 2017, I went to Italy, I got back. I ended up breaking up with that girlfriend after I got back from China, and sometime in 2016. I was there for half a year or so in China, and then I get back, and all of a sudden, like, the money just disappears. Like, you're running trains so hard, and if I was a shorter, smaller person, I wouldn't have to eat as much, and I wouldn't have to spend as much, but when you're a bigger person, when you're a lot taller, let's say if you're 7'4", 7'5", big people gotta eat a lot more than someone who's 5 feet, and I'm in the middle between that. I need at least 5,000-6,000 calories a day, but you're gonna pay for that mopping floors. I mean, no, forget about it. You're screwed. Eventually, I was screwed. I lost all the money. I had to end up panhandling in the subway. One day, I'm in Washington Square Park, and these Chinese people came up to me, and I knew how to speak some Chinese, and I started talking to them, and they were amazed. Oh wow, you speak Chinese? You speak Chinese? 好像是讲到你话讲你，你做什么名字？不是。And I end up singing with them. We're just singing Jesus tunes about God, and I'm like, this is kind of nice. Maybe this is what I should be right now. And after that, every Wednesday, I would go Bible study. On Wednesday and Thursday was a home meeting at somebody's house, and it was Crazy Rich Asians. I mean, like, these guys were loaded. I got to tell you, so Washington Square Park was right outside of NYU. So these were a lot of like the foreign students that went to NYU from China and Korea, and if you've seen that movie Crazy Rich Asians, I'm like, the guys had money, but they didn't seem to care that I was kind of poor looking. I mean, they're God loving people, so they didn't exactly. I never told them that I was living in my car. Probably was a good idea. I never did. But I was just one of those weirdos that hang out in the park. And it was just nice. I kind of made a group of friends and this connection with more people, and they invited me out for dinner, and every Wednesday and Thursday I'd spend time with them. So Wednesday morning I'd wake up from my car, I'd go play music, and then I'd go to Bible, and I'd come back and I'd do it again. Now taking a shower was now a problem. Now obviously there wasn't any place to go, and there wasn't any gym near Astoria Park for what I could remember. Now where I had to shower was when I do mop floors in the gym. back out in Long Island. So every it was like Mondays usually or so, or Monday, Tuesday, maybe Sunday or whatever. I'd go out to there and I'd take a shower a few times a week. Option two was swimming in the Hudson River if it was warmer. Most of the year it was warmer, in the winter it was pretty cold. Just to get washed. But I mean, there was always a better option from that. There was a bathroom in Astoria Park, so what I would do, I would do my morning run. I'd go to the park bathroom to get warmed up because it was usually freezing cold in the winter, and I'd fill up a bottle of warm water. And usually the water was warm. And I would take, it was like 2 liters of water, and I had a little soap. I'd go back to the parking lot and I would take a shower, every morning in the parking lot. And then I would, get my stuff ready. Sometimes I would dress up in a suit. Like, I brought nice clothes, especially if I was going to play the trombone and act like a wise guy. But like, I noticed if you're going to panhandle with people, whatever is playing music, if you do dress nice and you're and you could kind of put on an act for yourself. People do like that, and you dance around and whatever. You wear a funny hat and do little tricks. I would do that on the Messinas, not on the platform, with the trombone, and I dance around. I'll post these videos of my busking stuff. I'll post the YouTube channel down below of all my busking stuff. As for taking a shower, that's what I did, and I go dance around. Another way of panhandling, I didn't do this much, but I thought I'd give it a go one time. Now, there's 2 ways you could do this. You could dress nice as a normal person, or you could dress completely homeless. Look, completely shabby. But sometimes I just, like I normally do, or try. Now, I had like one pair of nice clothes. Everything I was wearing because I was just, dirty all the time, and I couldn't really wash my clothes maybe once a week. I've been wearing the same clothes for years, so I'd look like shit all the time. My jacket would my old jacket had rips in it, old pants, and of course my running shoes had holes in them because I always had shoes that had holes in them because I never could buy shoes. So I'd always look like a homeless bum. Or whatever, and when I was out running I'd look like an athlete. And then when I was in the subway I'd look like a homeless bum panhandling. But one thing I used to do with panhandling, I used to have my hat, and I used to go around and be like, excuse me sir, I dropped my wallet, and I need a few bucks to take the Long Island Railroad to get back to Long Island. Sorry for, I'd be nice about it. And most of the times people would give you a few bucks. And you could do that to 100 people, 200 people, and some days, especially on the holidays when people are in a good mood, you'd come back home with $500. And so all of a sudden I was making money, real money. And now it took me a while to do this. I think first when I started, I had to learn the crowd when I was playing music in the subway. Certain songs got you paid more, certain songs got you paid less. Certain times of the day got you paid more, certain times of the day got you paid less. You had to be in a certain spot at a certain time, and I wrote down the algorithm of where I had to be at what time, and also the times in each place where I would get kicked out by the cops. Because during rush or during the week, if you're playing on the tracks, on the platform, with an amplified device, you're going to get kicked out by the cops. And sometimes you may even get a ticket, and that's usually the worst. But you got to be good with them. You just got to say, "Oh, sorry, officer, I just didn't know." And knock on wood, I never got a ticket, and they're always cool. They're just doing their job, and it's fine. You go somewhere else. You could play with an amplified device on the hallways in New York City, in the subways, but just not down on the tracks. Until after hours in the evening, it's good. The weekends, I just never really had a problem. I could play, keep the amp down pretty low for the most part. Don't go crazy loud, and
don't play anything destructive, and then you're good. You know, holidays holidays and come home with $500, $800. And this past, 4 months ago, just coming to Japan, I was back doing that again in the subway for a little bit, and trying to make $1,000 night, on New Year's 2020. Man, it was rough, but cops were kicking me out left and right because there were just so many people. They had to keep everybody moving, but I made it happen. And I was at this point, like, I was so mad at general society for everything, like, I've done and accomplished, and the best thing I can do for myself is to busk or panhandle. Busking is different than panhandling. Busking is, you're kind of giving a service. You're making people feel good. People love it. I'm telling you. I get people that would come and see me all the time and just sit next to me, and some people would cry. Because I play a lot of emotional shit, like good emotional shit on the piano with the strings, and like that joy I got, and making someone else's day is the reason why I kept doing it. And the reward was I was making some money. I was still living in my car, but I was doing all right. And after that, coming into 2018 in the spring, that long year, just doing everything, just being in the car, taking showers in the parking lot, and keeping my running up, I decided to go to New Mexico. And reason why is because I had a plan, and that plan was to start my own little business and become a fucking millionaire. That's right, I had a plan. So I saved up the money, got a different car, got a van. Now I'm living in the van, doing the van life. It's a small van, but it's a van, and I could actually sleep straight in it. Can't sit, it's like a minivan. I get in the van, and here was the plan. So I set the plan. First, panhandle the subway, save some money, make some money. 2, drive around the country, look for work, look for a job, find a place to settle, do something, get the hell out of here, and make it happen. And that's spring and summer, coming all the way to the fall. Long time I was doing the van life. I remember the first day I drove out from New York, and I went to New Jersey, and I'd be a little bit scandalous, but I'd sleep in I would park in hotel parking lots like the Holiday Inn or whatever, because cars are always from out of state, right, in hotels, and nobody would know. So I'd park there, and I'd get up in the morning, and I'd take a parking lot shower, and I'd go into the hotel, and I had some oatmeal, and I'd use some hot water, or whatever, and that was fine. But sometimes I would take the free complimentary breakfast, and nobody would know, like dirtbag me over here, just kind of winging the system a little bit. And I got good at it. I mean, just being a hustler for most of my life and just doing weird shit. I'd come into a hotel and be like, "Are we allowed to bring food to? Am I allowed to bring? What do I say to the guy? Are we allowed to bring food into our room, or can we just have the complimentary breakfast? Or do you have complimentary? Oh, breakfast is right there. Okay, cool, thanks." I just take 1 or 2 things. Once again, I was running out of money again. And I went to Lake Michigan. I toured the country. I saw everything. But I was sleeping in weird spots. I always try to avoid the ghettos in big cities. I got to Chicago, and I didn't stay in Chicago pretty long, I tell you that. visited quick, but I kept driving most of that night. I came over and I went to, it was Rockford, I got Rockford, Illinois I stay. I almost lost my little drone I bought to take video. I documented this whole trip. It's on my YouTube and it's called See the World. And it was just that time of traveling in the van, and I got to this random corn town called Blue Earth. It was such a weird experience. And I kept driving across, and when I got to Wyoming, everything was good. I could just live in the woods, and I went to go sleep in the woods, except for the bears and the wolves. That was scary, but jeez. I think after a night or two, and when I drove up this mountain, I stayed up in the mountains, and I decided that I shouldn't camp in my tent, because I was like, oh, finally I could camp in a tent, it'd be so much more comfortable. And it was, but certain areas just had too many wolves. But I got clever. I used to set the car alarm off when I would hear the wolves running around through the woods, and it would scare them away, so that would work. But after a night or two, I was like, what am I doing? I do make a lot of dumb decisions in life, and this might be another one. Just stay in the damn car. And then after I went to Yellowstone, and I lived in Yellowstone. I lived in that parking lot for a little bit. There's a lodge, like a hotel, and of course I just stayed in the parking lot. One day, I didn't realize it, but you can't go park your car off in the on the roads around Yellowstone, in like the small little stops or whatever, or dirt roads or trails, because the state park won't allow it because of the overabundance of bears and wild animals, and they think you might get eaten or your car broken into by a bear. So one night I got stopped by a cop, a park ranger, and he was like, "Yeah, buddy, you can't be doing that here." I mean, he was a totally cool guy, and they're all cool. I mean, they're just doing their job. I'm like, yeah, all right, you went, yeah, my bad, I didn't know. Yeah, I had a nice long conversation with the guy where he's writing me up, and he just gave me a warning. He was like, yeah, you're good to go. It's just like if you do this in any other national park, we have your license on record now, so just don't do it again, or else you're gonna get fined. And I'm like, all right, yeah, okay. And he's like, but in national forest you could do that, just not in like state national parks like Yellowstone or Yosemite. That's where you'll get into trouble. But because the park is liable for your safety a bit, I guess that's what it is. But national forest is wilderness, and go have fun. Just don't go hunting out of hunting season. But living in the woods was quite enjoyable at that time. You could just about live whatever's off what's in the woods, and at this time I could not be vegan or vegetarian. I mean, when I was even just living in my car, I would eat whatever was in the people would throw out in the public trash, whatever it was. So, and people want to credit my bad running for being vegan, and I'm just eating out of a trash can. So, come on. I didn't really publicize this on my YouTube the whole time, but Story Park, I mean, it's a public park. People waste food all the time, and it's still good. I mean, yeah, it's been in other people's mouth, but just take out the part that was bitten and just eat it. Why people throw out so much food, I don't know. But yeah, I hang out with the other homeless people there, and we share the food from the trash can every once in a while. And then at times with busking, if I make some money, I'd go to the grocery store too. But I would do about everything. I have to say I wasn't making $100 a day right from the start, because I didn't know how to do it, and I'd get kicked out by the cops all the time. So I'd come home with like $10, and it would suck, $10-15, and when I really got into the groove of doing it and learning, I was doing a lot better. But first, when you have to go sleep in your car, and you don't have any money or food, you just find what's in the trash. And going back to when I was a kid in high school, we'd go dumpster diving on the grocery store. So it's good. It's food. It's food. At this point, I'm 21 years old, 22 years old, 23 years old. It was just a few years ago right now, and I'm doing this, and I'm like, well, I'm not the only one, so what are you gonna do? So after Wyoming, I drove up towards Alaska. I toured the whole country, and went down to Utah, Salt Lake City, went to Mexico. Don't fucking go to Mexico through the border, man. It's just sketch. Like, Juarez is just, like, around the border towns, it's just not, like, I like Mexico. I think Mexican people are awesome. And when I did go to Mexico, I had an awesome time meeting people. Like, they're great. Mexicans are awesome people. But the border towns, just, they're not, that safe, I want to say. But, then I was in New Mexico. And then I got to Santa Fe, and I had to get some sort of job. I held up a sign in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and the sign said, need work. I was holding a sign outside of a Home Depot until somebody asked me, can you paint, whatever, and yes, I can. So all of a sudden, I was doing construction work in Santa Fe, and I was living up in a mountain. Campsite in the mountain, free campsite, great. And I would drive down every day, go to work, and go back up for a couple of weeks. Just those couple of weeks, I was able to afford rent for $300 a month in a house with a bunch of guys from Africa, from Kenya, and these are the guys I ended up living with. And as I was still trying to be a professional athlete and running, this was my training group, and these are the guys I was living with. And the owner of the house, was big in the running community, and he knew who I was, and we collaborated. And then I rented, I had the bedroom upstairs at my room named Bernard Lengard, his name was. I don't know if anyone knows about him, but he's a pretty decent athlete. And, the guys, he's an older guy though, so he's like more retired now at this point. And the guys downstairs, and Steve, and I ended up becoming good friends with them, and they're Kenyan people, right? And all of a sudden, I was doing all right. I was living, first time in a long time, I was in a bedroom, and I was good. I was happy. All the stuff I had was in my little van, and I continued to own very little things, and all I need just to make me happy. And after one job I was working with that little construction company, we were doing a job on this mansion. Like, this owner of this house was a millionaire. Loaded. He was loaded. This is the first time I met a really wealthy person. And we were building the inside of a garage, like an outside house, or building for his newly to come solar panel system. And we're putting up drywall and shit, and all that crazy nasty stuff. And I've been doing construction on the side for a long time. It's shit work, but soon after I had some money, I started my own business. I learned how to live off of Craigslist. I posted ads on Craigslist. I went door to door and made business cards. All of a sudden, I was a rich motherfucker. Well, and that's the second battery down. Things only last an hour. I started my business. I learned how to employ employees, and in such a short time, I feel like I was getting somewhere in life. Like, I was doing something different. Aside from my running, I was still training like a madman. Training with my group of guys and whatever, and I would go on to live with other athletes in New York, or whatever, and at one point I decided maybe I should try the stock market again. Like, for somebody I came across something on YouTube about day trading, and I'm like, that seems awesome. I continue to still do that today, but like, if I can make a few bucks doing this, if I can learn how to do this, I could just be anywhere in the world, day trade, making income, and just, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, I could, work from home and do my running, have food to eat, and maybe not live in a car. So I worked towards trading, and it took me a little while. And the first app I used was Robinhood app, and it's obviously not a great, the greatest thing to use. I mean, now I use TD Ameritrade, and I have some real, important stuff over here going. For day trading and whatnot, and now now I do it as an income, but along with other things as well. But now at that time I was like super excited to make $20. I'm like, yeah, and then I would lose it and I would break even a lot. I mean, it was just really hard, but it was just something I decided to work towards too. Eventually, I don't know how it happened, but just in that first 4 or 5 months, I ended up buying property, land. My first property, and it was in Tiburon, New Mexico, and I made a YouTube video about that, and I'm like, yeah, I own property. It's fucking my land, yeah. Now I have a place to go when everything goes to shit. I have a place to go when everything goes to shit. And I started the investment process, and I figured out how I could make some money, and my next thing was like, let's buy some rental property, and I worked on buying a rental property, and this was the hard part, was like, it was a $30,000 rental property, a little bit bigger than this apartment. It was bigger than this apartment, twice the size. This is a small little palace, right? This is the hallway and kitchen right there, but if you see my other video, but bought this place in Angel Fire, New Mexico, and it was pretty cheap, and I'm like, okay, if I could get this going, I could rent it out, and they just rent it out for like $800 a month, $850 a month, or do Airbnb, and make some money. Only problem is I didn't have all the money, and I needed $35,000, and that's a lot of money. It's not like New York prices, but it's something I could do. And I tried to go to the bank to get a bank loan. I said, look, here's the deal. I put half down. You put the other half. I mortgage a little bit, and my mortgage payment is about $150 a month. But I used that good debt to create wealth. Now, I've always been a hustler. Now, this is the second kind of hustling, called investing. First, you get the panhandling, you learn how to make a business doing that, then you make a real business. So there's all different levels of businesses, in negotiating. In the real life, whether you're, a finance major in college, or, you do finance for a living, or you're a panhandler, or you're a hustler, you got to realize that both of you are the same. Now, there are a lot of jerks who go to Ivy League schools, and they're all that, and they make a lot of money, and they make $1 million deals, and they really do act like jerks. And I'm like, not all of them make money. Like, all right, there's some people, they run for this running team in New York City, and they're alright, but like they're little strange people. But they weren't. They're a little more privileged, I guess, as a kid. They had a little more, and they went to NYU and more nicer schools. But they just didn't know how to hide their ego, and they act a little bit rude at times. I have nothing against it's just the way people are, and God made people all different ways, so you got to respect that. But like. The reason why I don't talk to just a lot of general people, especially from a city like New York, was like, those people are in their bubble, and I'm in my own bubble. But like, you went to college, and you did this for a job, and you make a 6-figure income or whatever, and all of a sudden you have a dirtbag like me who makes the same income by panhandling and hustling. What do you got to say about that? Are you being a jerk because you make more money and you think you're better, or than someone else who just didn't have what you have, or you're just jealous that someone who just didn't have as much growing up, could do something that could make him successful and happy as well. But making a deal on a house is the same way as hustling for a buck on the street, I'll tell you that. So I learned how to be a salesman right from when I was collecting bottles off the street. So I went to the bank and said, here's the deal. You put a half down. We make this deal. Now the problem was I ended up not getting a loan from the bank because I was, on paper I looked like a poor piece of shit. You gotta understand, if you're gonna play the game, you gotta play the game. You gotta build credit. So I started using a credit card that year, and coming up until last year, about a year ago, working hard, doing the business, not getting paid for the work sometimes, and all the ups and downs, and had the money, and I put it was about a year ago now. I put the money down for that house, and I put it on Airbnb. It was hard pleasing people, and the thing I always hated with Airbnb was like regular people. Some people are expecting a luxury cabin in the woods. $35,000, you ain't getting shit, buddy. $80 a night by the ski resort, is what the market was. So I sold the place at the market. I put it up at the market, and I have to pay the cleaning lady $80 or so, every other day. So I wanted 2 days minimum, 3 days minimum, and $500 every 3 months. So 2,000 years for HOA, plus the utilities and everything. It was $3,800 a year in expenses for that small place, and then the profit to turnover, earned like $13,000-14,000. The profit was coming about $10,000 for the year. Pretty good for not bad. I had a good profit margin, I would say that, but a lot of it went to cleaning lady and stuff like that. And I just feel like they were taking a little bit of advantage. They were in there for 2 hours, and it would be anywhere from $80 to $150. If it was a new big cleaning, it was $150. If it was just a regular thing, $65 to $100 or so. And I'm like, it was good. I ended up selling the place because I just didn't want to deal with that. I'm like, if you guys would have been a little bit more fair to me, maybe I would have kept the place, and you guys would have still had the job cleaning my place. But I like to work with people. I like to pay my employees what they need to be paid, because everybody's got to freaking eat. And obviously I know that because I lived in my car. That was a short time. But nevertheless, I was happy for where I got. I owned a property. I owned a freaking property. And I felt way ahead of anybody in New York, because nobody in New York could damn right own a property unless you're a millionaire. You need $1 million to buy something. Buy a studio apartment in New York City. It's going to cost you $800,000. And then to make that investment to rent it out. That's why the rent is $4,000 a month. They want to make the return on the investment. It's no fucking money, man. Nobody got nothing. So I had the place for a year. It was good. Whenever it was empty, I used it for training. And then I got back to New York all the way. It was this past fall, winter. My friend was getting married. It was October, November. That summer, though, that's when I decided to quit running. Through that fall, that summer, I was like, okay, I've had it with running at this point. Because if I got this far with running and I ended up living in my car, and I found out the truth that some guys don't do it ethically, and I didn't want to believe it. Now, not every athlete, not every professional athlete dopes, and I strongly believe that Meb is clean. I strongly believe that Ryan Hall is clean in their careers, and they probably are, and I do believe they are, but I think some people from third world countries, they find out if they could run fast, they can make money. If they take and the only way they can do it is really take some stuff, and to get their family out of poverty. And I completely understand. Not having food sucks. It fucking sucks. Having to scavenge out of a trash can or a dumpster, or it sucks. But a lot of people have to do it. There are people my age in my country, in America, and in Italy, Italia, Sicily, Europe, that they got a normal childhood, but they grew up and had to move out, and didn't make the right choices, or was doing something that wasn't making them an income, and ended up doing the things that I was doing. So that's just life, and I can never say that there's always a positive in every part of it. And the positive was like the time living in my car and putting on a show for people in the subway. It just helped. It helped other people. People enjoyed it. It gave something, and that was my purpose. I had a purpose in doing that, and it felt so good and rewarding. And I just remember that night meeting that little Bible club or whatever, and it just all of a sudden, like, I was just happy, what I was doing, and just made me realize it's like maybe there was some sort of God was like out there, and he was like, all right, this is what you're gonna do, and this is how you're gonna do it, and that's the plan. So that's God's plan. And now going back to the running thing, unfortunately we do have a drug problem in sports, and when I was living in with my guys from Kenya, and one friend I was talking to, and we were talking together, and he was like, yeah, he was like, yeah, guys from Kenya, they do take drugs. Not everybody, but at this point, I remember him saying to me, the guys who are doing it, and the guys who are not. And we talked together, and he was explaining to me, and it was like, it's pretty obvious. Some athletes, like, they're, they don't do any training for like half of the year, and all of a sudden, they go from not being able to finish a high school level workout to running under 27 minutes for 10K, and then you just, in 1 month, and certain things like that. Now going back to New York City, and then actually experienced witnessing athletes taking stuff. Back when I went back to New York City again in I went back to New York City that spring, like it was about a year ago now. So what are we in? Yeah, June. I was in New York City in June 2019, and and I was living with some of these guys or whatever, and other professional athletes for a little bit. I came back to New York City because I wanted to come back to New York City because I felt like what I did in New Mexico for a little bit, like I was okay. I had some income coming in from a rental property and whatnot, and then you see these guys taking this shit. And there's many ways, and I've been in the running community long enough and on the professional scene where, I've even known like the idea, like the way they get some of the shit is like through their agents. Some agents of professional athletes give their athletes the stuff. So the agents give their athletes the stuff. And a lot of these agents, some of these sports agents, they're doctors themselves. They run their own clinic. And if you ever looked up the YouTuber, his name is Duran Rider, the 30 bananas a day guy or whatever. He was also saying, you know how they get the stuff? The fucking doctors give it to them. You go to a doctor's and you get the stuff. And there's legal shit and there's unlegal shit. It seems to be right now the biggest thing is thyroid medication, which anyone really could take. Which, if you do take it, you could blow out your thyroid pretty fast, and it just won't work anymore. So you never could be good without the drug, and you actually can never live a normal long life without the drug. Like, you retire from running in your 40s and your 50s, and now you're crippled because your thyroid doesn't produce bodily hormones for yourself. But then there's the other kind of steroids, and of athletes taking steroids from the local farm, the animal steroids, and stuff like that. And you see these guys doing this shit, mostly in foreign countries, and they're dying. Some people are dying, and some of the athletes I trained with, some of the Kenyan guys in Santa Fe, like one of them was saying is like, talking about like how someone died of taking too much horse and cattle steroid to improve their running, and both guys and women were doing it over there. And there's actually a YouTube video on it too, so I'm not the only one saying this. And I hate, I hate talking about this. And I remember that video I put on YouTube last almost a year ago, like 10 months ago, saying how I'm gonna quit running, and how I just don't want to do it anymore because I just literally witnessed and learned about all this shit in person because I've seen it. And I do get a lot of comments saying it's like, you don't know what you're talking about, blah blah blah, and I'm like, I'm just trying to be honest with you. I've seen it. Okay? Thanks. And it comes in pill form as well as needle. And I didn't want to deal with any of this shit. So I said, fuck this shit. I decided to do something else. And that was business and, instead of competitive running, it came into competitive stock trading. Like I just had that same drive to do that on the side of anything else. From that last video from last year that I posted, and I really admire the comments, and I'll do a video where I'll read all the comments, perhaps, some other time. But now last little part of the story, we're almost done here. Give me 5 minutes, 10 minutes. After I quit running, I just look at everybody turns a blind eye on everything, what reality is and whatnot. And that's what I kind of say is like, when you really want to run fast, and the times I've run, which are decent but they're not top professional, and maybe that's the reason why I was always stuck in the void, in the middle, the 1350, 5K, 13 range or whatever, and not 1305 and not 1420, because you could work incredibly hard and do a ridiculous thing. Maybe 1350, 1340 is the fastest a human being, now it thinks to my brain, is that the fastest a human being really could actually run is 13:30 or so a world record? 13:28, 29. Is that really the world record? The true world record? Or anything faster than that is drugs. Yeah, I had coaches older in New York City. I've talked to one guy who was a sub 13:30 guy. Very fast guy. He's a Dutch guy, but he's African. And he was saying to me, he's like, yeah, you could, very few people have it to run under 13:30, let alone 13:20, and maybe that could probably the top in the world a human being can physically run or so. But then you have guys running consistently, inconsistently 12:50 out of the blue and then disappearing, and that's where the red flag comes, right? That's where it happens. Do I know 100% that these guys are there that are going sub 13 or 12:50, 12:40? I mean, you look at the whole thing with Alberto Salazar and Galen Rupp. So Galen Rupp was clean, right? He ran 12:57 without taking any performance-enhancing drugs. But then this whole thing with Alberto Salazar really pushing the system and all that, and that was just big news. So, is thyroid medication a legal drug? Yes. Should we be using it in sports? If it's available to everyone, then I guess yes. But if you do choose to use it, you could end up killing yourself. That and L-carotene was another thing. If you read the thing with Alberto Salazar, you could take it as a supplement. It occurs naturally in fish products and meat products, really. And but the point about injecting it into your bloodstream is that legal, which apparently that's what the article was stating. In the interview that was stating between the Oregon Project, the Nike Oregon Project. So Galen Rupp is clean, guys. And I guess Alberto Salazar was clean, and I guess he was he was doing it right, He didn't force that or push drugs on anyone. So, but I guess really to wrap it up, throughout so many years, to make it to where I am right now, pushing it hit me that one time. That 1 year was like, did I end up living in my car because I gave everything I did to the sport and didn't push any supplements or didn't take any drugs? Or is it just because I was vegan and that vegans can't run that fast? That I should be eating meat. And, I want to state it right here is like, don't ever fucking take drugs for anything, Maybe it could have made me a hero in running. Maybe it could have made me a lot faster. But would it be worth it? If I died, would it be worth it? It wouldn't. I don't think it would be worth it. When it comes to that point, there's better things in life, and I said I got 75 more years to go. I want to do so much of that. I want to be that weirdo. I want to be that guy who rides his bike from Eastern China to Italy, across the continent, and be one of those guys on YouTube. I want to do so much. There's so many things, and for it to come to the point where, the sport might have not have been ruined by performance enhancing drugs, or my career was determined between that, taking drugs, or quitting, then what might have been the best path at this point. And I left it at that. As for further in running, I what I want to do, what I want to pursue in running is I don't want to go back to the track. I really don't want to do marathons. I don't want to do anything that is has its main focus on being a big shitty business and forces athletes to do unethical things in order to make money, because I think the better way of making money than being an athlete is probably panhandling in the subway at this point. If you're gonna make money, you're gonna do that. You're gonna start your business. You're gonna trade some stocks. That's how you make money. Trying to do it, being an athlete and taking drugs for it is not the way you want to do it. It's not the way. It's not the way you want to make money. Keep the sport as a hobby. I think keep it to better yourself, to do it to have it teach you the growing points in life. That was the point of running from when I started and what I did, because like I said, that whole accomplishment and what I've done with my running was to inspire and help other people. And everything I do, that is your purpose in life. You do something for someone else, whoever it is, and you do it the right way. And if you enjoy it, that's props for you, and it's good for you. And I think after this Corona thing ends, I do run every day. I don't do much. I do a few miles at night. I'll do 10 in the morning or whatever. Just for the heck of it. I feel a lot better just to kind of relax a little bit and just work my my day job. And when I quit this job, probably in the next year, my next thing is going to do ultra marathons. And the reason why I like these super crazy long 100-mile events is they don't go the way the marathon does. People aren't forced to go take drugs to try to win money, because there isn't any money in ultra marathons on this thing. But I think I want to fight with running. I think the only goal I have right now is, can I break the world record for the longest frickin' run? Can I run 350 miles without stopping? I'll do these like 48-hour track time trials, this crazy shit, because I think that's what it's about now. So I don't want to do track anymore. I don't want to run marathons. I don't want to put my face in the spotlight with everything, which I know is, it's a little bit plastic. Society is a bit of a game, and it's a little bit of a plastic game. It's a shady game. The humans haven't, come to the point yet where we can all really work together in a right way and do the right thing. And I generally don't want to be part of society in that sense. And I want to find what's good in life and do the underground things. I like the underground punk rock and metal, and not the crap that's on the radio these days. I'm telling you, the stuff that's on the radio is just, oh my god, forget about it. I think people are brain dead now. Or what happened to Blink 182? What happened to Ozzy Osbourne? I mean, well, music has some really good stuff. I'm getting off track. The last time in New York City was this winter. I made some more money in the subway. I did some hustling in January, December, January, February. When this Corona thing happened, and I was like, we have to get out of New York, because I know once it gets here, New York is a dirty place. This thing is going to hit hard. I made 2 bets. I knew the stock market was going to fail, and that we should short the market, bet on it going down, and collect some money. The second bet was go where the fire has burned. I got on a plane and I flew to China. Well, I flew to Taiwan first. And that was a good idea, because the fire was burnt there. It wasn't as bad. New York City was just getting burnt. And then I figured, I think I'll lay low in the Philippines for a little bit. I went to Manila. I saw the videos from Manila. Manila, great people, awesome culture. But America wasn't too kind to their country, so they tend to be poor as shit. and a lot of big businesses, they back to the society thing, they take all the they run their big businesses in the Philippines. They get literally free cheap labor, and they sell all their crap to Americans. Americans keep buying crap and buying crap, and these third world countries, they have to suffer for it. It shouldn't be that way. I think some of the best people I've met in this world are from the Philippines, and God bless that country. I think they're awesome. They're amazing. Maybe I should go move there. Only that I'm not Filipino, and when you're not of that race, you won't fit in anywhere. Not to say I didn't fit in America at all. Really didn't. So I guess anywhere I go, it'd all be the same. And then I applied for a job in Japan here, and I'll save that for another story. But Japan is a great culture as well. There's literally like no crime in this country. Everybody bows everywhere you go. You have to bow. Super polite, super respectful. I think some places got it right. And not saying everything is perfect, but I'm in Japan now. This was my story. This is my life story. And if you spend the time to watch this whole thing, God bless you. I spent all morning talking to my camera by myself. So, whole moral of this: when you do something, do it not just for yourself. Do it for others. Do it for to inspire other people, to motivate, but also teach. It's a teaching experience, and never stop running, always inspiring, and live your fucking life. Never stop running, always inspiring, and goddamn it, live your fucking life. God bless you. I fucking love you all. Thanks.